following is an exclusive presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.
October baseball. For some, it is but a dream. For the Atlanta Braves, it is a ritual. For the 9th straight year, they have finished in first place and are once again focused on winning their second ultimate prize. Just 2 years ago, St. Louis was a one-man town. The home run captivated a nation. But the hero wanted just one thing: to play in October. Now, with McGuire only a pinch hitter, it all falls on Big Mac's rather formidable teammates. October has arrived. Today's heroes are waiting. ESPN's coverage of the division series begins now. St. Louis, it's all Cardinal red. There was a rally at a park across the street from Busch Stadium earlier this morning, and they have turned out in big numbers. The game long ago a sellout. Yes, all paths, all streets, they all lead to Busch Stadium. A huge crowd gathering today as this much anticipated division series featuring the Braves, the champions of the National League East, the Cardinals, the champions of the Central. I'm John Miller with Buck Martinez, and welcome to our telecast. The 1999 Braves, but a memory. The Braves, the team of the 90s, can they keep it going into the year 2000? The Cardinals are hoping not. Today, Greg Maddux, though, he was that great pitcher of that great team of the 90s. He's on the mound on his way to the Hall of Fame, and he's up against a rookie. Now, that was not what everybody anticipated. They thought Tony LaRussa was going to go with Darryl Kyle as 20-game winners, but instead, against the master, Maddux is going with the rookie, Rick Ankiel. What gives?
Well, John, what Tony LaRussa thinks about this is the distractions of the postseason can be very, very tough on a young pitcher, so he's going to start Ankiel in Game 1, and by doing this, he basically knocks Javi Lopez out of 2 of the ball games. So in a 5-game series, Javi Lopez will face Darryl Kyle twice. Kyle is a guy that he doesn't hit at all. He's 4 for 37 against Darryl Kyle. So Tony LaRussa has already neutralized that perceived advantage that the Braves have by having those 2 great starters in Game 1 and Game 2.
All right, now still in a 5-game series because of the unique format of this series with a day off tomorrow. Greg Maddux will pitch twice in the first 4 games with his full rest. And in a 5-game series, if it goes that far, the Cardinals have to face Maddux and Glavine 4 times. So what do they need to do to win?
Well, I think they need to take advantage of winning the home field. By that, have Ankiel go out here today, hold their runners close, not allow them to steal, and take advantage of trying to get to Maddux early. Vigna at the top of the order has been hampered by some hamstring problems, but today he said, you know what, I'm going to get on base. I'm going to be a distraction, and they want to get to Maddux before he settles into a groove and develops that great rhythm.
Yeah, getting on base against Maddux, that is the rub. It is often difficult to do. Mark McGuire on the roster, but only as a pinch hitter. We perhaps will see Big Mac later on. Right now, young Rick Ankiel takes the mound.
ESPN's presentation of the divisional series is brought to you by Denny's. Race on over to Denny's for our Kellogg's Country and Specialty Slams. By Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires. And by Texas Instruments, the world leader in DSP and analog.
The Gateway Arch on the shores of the mighty Mississippi, and we're just a couple of blocks away here at Busch Stadium. There's Bobby Cox, the manager of the Braves, who are perennially in this position come October. 15th year as the Braves skipper, also began there as the general manager. Here's the Pepsi batting order turned in by Bobby Cox. It will be Rafael Furcal, one of the most exciting young players in the game. Andrew Jones in center field, 36 homers. Chipper Jones at third base, and he wore out lefties this year. Andres Galarraga, the big cat, at first base. Brian Jordan, he's all banged up. He's in right field. Reggie Sanders, he had a great finish in left field. Walt Weiss, the shortstop. Paul Bacco, the catcher, a left-handed batter hitting 8th, and Greg Maddux is the pitcher batting 9th. And on the mound for the Cardinals, the young lefty. He's only 21. Rick Ankiel, first game starter in the postseason.
Only 35 career starts in the big leagues, and you see this year he was 11-7. His ERA very impressive. He had a .219 opponent's batting average. That's good for 3rd in the National League. This guy has electric stuff, and he's got the ability to strike out a lot of hitters today. This first inning is very important for him to settle into the game.
All right, and with us is our colleague Alvaro Martin. Alvaro.
Well, thanks, John. St. Louis catcher Mike Matheny will not be playing for the rest of the postseason. He inadvertently sliced his right hand with a hunting knife. It's an unfortunate accident. Some people in this team believe he's the MVP in a team full of stars, and his teammates will wear number 44 on their caps in his honor. Now, it's a big loss for the team, but he will not make no contribution in this series. He'll be coaching the team. He's the best at breaking down video. He'll be helping his team with both the opponents and their own tendencies. And he'll be especially helpful for Carlos Hernandez, who's catching Ankiel for only the 6th time. In 5 prior times, Ankiel is 1-1 with a 2.67 ERA. Coaching is something that both pitching coach Dave Duncan and manager Tony LaRussa feel Mike Matheny can do very well. He just wishes it didn't have to start this way. Gentlemen.
All right, Alvaro Martin. And you saw the first pitch from the rookie Ankiel to the rookie Furcal. Was ball 1. The next one is into right center field. Diving is Edman as he can't get it. Backing up the play, J.D. Drew. It will be a single for Rafael Furcal.
Edmonds looked like he hurt himself diving for this ball, trying to make the catch. He jumped up very quickly. He's a very good outfielder, obviously a Gold Glover. And you watch how he falls awkwardly on his right hand, jumps up quickly. And it looks as though he's still got his glove off. He's trying to regain the field in that right hand. But J.D. Drew, the right fielder, was right there behind him to back up Edmonds on the play to ensure that Furcal didn't go any further than first.
And Furcal may not long be at first. A very fine base dealer, although he just turned 20 last month. And here's another young Braves star, Andrew Jones. And the count is 0-1. Now, we got 2 historic franchises. I mean, the Cardinals were here when the National League began in 1876. And yet, in this big ball game, this first game, the first first batter and the first pitch of the first batter from a rookie to a rookie. A 21-year-old to a 20-year-old.
And they're pretty special players, both of them. Ankiel with his overpowering stuff, Furcal with his great speed and ability to get on base and make things happen in the leadoff spot.
Andrew Jones, he seems like a grizzled old veteran. Remember, he had the big World Series 1996, and yet he's only 23. And he is quickly retired by Rick Ankiel. 1 away.
Now, you saw the great effort by Jim Edmonds in center field. They basically have 3 center fielders in the outfield here in St. Louis, and they've got a lot of range. Langford, Edmonds, and Drew. Renteria and Vigna up the middle. Very good double play combination. Polanco gets the start at third. The veteran Will Clark's at first. Carlos Hernandez started 17 games for the Cardinals, threw out 28% of the runners when he was back behind the plate.
Chipper Jones now, last year's MVP, and this year not quite as potent, although he finished very strongly in September again. And Chipper was just devastating against left-handed pitching. He hit .415 against the lefties. Up and away with a changeup.
John, that's a pitch that has really developed quickly for Ankiel in the second half of the season. Early this year, he was fastball, curveball, and just with tremendous physical talent. Now he understands the value of changing speeds, and he has really picked up the changeup very quickly.
Furcal at first, there he goes. It looked like a pitch up, but poorly thrown, and the throw to second in the dirt, and pulled out for the tag by second baseman Vigna. Beautifully done by Vigna.
Boy, John, what a psychological boost that is for this Cardinal team. Matheny threw out 53% of the runners this year. He's not available. Hernandez, the veteran of 14 postseason games with the Padres in '98, steps in, and the first time the Braves test him, he's up for the challenge. Look at the effort by Abena, taking the short hop in front of the bag and tagging out for Cal.
And there's a strike on the outside to Chipper. 3-1. 2 down, nobody on. Furcal had 40 steals, only caught 14 times in the regular season. And that is ball 4 to Chipper Jones. And Chipper, going back to October of 1997, has had only 1 home run in his last 27 postseason games. That was in Game 1 of last year's World Series against El Duque of the Yankees. However, in those 27 games, he's walked 28 times. So come postseason time, and it seems like teams are very reluctant to throw anything near the plate to Chipper Jones.
Same things happen with Barry Bonds throughout his postseason career. You just don't let those guys hurt you.
There's ball 1 up and into Andres Galarraga. Galarraga, 28 homers and 100 RBIs, a .302 average. And at this point, it's all a bonus for Galarraga, who battled for his life, missing all of last season. Foul back out of play, and the count 1-1 to Galarraga.
John, Galarraga has really done a good job of staying behind the ball and using the big part of the field, center field and right center. And this is a battle of a guy whose strength is out over the plate against a left-handed pitcher that can really run that fastball inside. There's that wicked curveball just missed upstairs.
2-1 the count now to Galarraga.
The Braves, in their pregame meeting discussing Ankiel, felt like if they could lay off the curveball and force him to throw the fastball in the strike zone, they would have a chance to get to him.
Came right back to the fastball, and Galarraga with a big rip, fouling it back to the screen. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Ankiel set a Cardinals strikeout record for a rookie this year, breaking the record that had been held since 1932 by Dizzy Dean. Ankiel, who wears his uniform pants sort of in a Dizzy Dean fashion, with the pant legs rolled up high. They swing. Check swing, the ball too high. 3-2 the count.
Those Cardinal socks, always a trademark of this great franchise, and you don't realize that they have 3 stripes on them until you see Ankiel's uniform with the pant legs up around the knees.
In fact, I didn't realize they had 4 stripes on them. That's ball 4 to Galarraga. So Ankiel, with consecutive walks after Furcal was thrown out trying to steal.
Mike check.
And the battle will be Jordan. Going back to that attempted steal by Furcal, the Cardinals guessed right. I mean, they pitched out. It was a poorly thrown pitch out by Ankiel. Now, if you're Tony LaRussa, if you're Bobby Cox, do you think that the Cardinals have your signs when they pitch out right away like that?
I don't think so. I think they're just taking a gamble, trying to guess with you and see if they're going to start Furcal. Obviously, they want Furcal to run in this series, so they had a count that was favorable for the pitch out.
Now, Brian Jordan. Jordan came up big time last year in the division series. The big curveball misses inside. But again this year, he is battling injuries.
Right there, John, you can see with Jordan at the plate and the base runner at second base for the first time. Watch Hernandez, the catcher, react to this pitch. He thought it was a fastball, and he really got fooled. Ankiel crossed him up. He called for a fastball. Ankiel threw the curveball, so there's a little bit of the rookie nerves in the first game here. First time he's had a base runner at second base in this ball game, and he forgot what sequence they were using with a man at second. So Hernandez went out there and straightened things out.
Some of the jitters of the first postseason from the highly capable and yet extremely young Rick Ankiel showing there. Brian Jordan, who's got a sore right wrist, which he injured in a recent headfirst slide. Big murderous cut on that one. Back to the screen. He's also already scheduled to have off-season shoulder surgery for a partial tear in his right rotator cuff. And Jordan has said, he says, hey, I have no bat speed. I'm using my body instead of my hands. He only had 6 hits in his last 36 at-bats in the regular season. And if he wasn't so outstanding defensively in right field, he might not even be in the game at all. That's a called strike, and it is 2-2.
John, this is the one thing that Ankiel can do effectively is when he has base runners on, he has the ability to strike out hitters, both with his fastball and his curveball, so he can get himself out of these jams that he got into because of the walks.
High in the air, foul ground. Will Clark over. Has room. He's got it. The Braves put 3 men on base, but they do not score. Now the Cardinals coming up against Greg Maddux.
Bruce.
No score last of the first inning from St. Louis. As the Cardinals come up now, let's take a look at the Pepsi batting order for St. Louis. It'll be Fernando Vina, their igniter at the top of the order, second base. J.D. Drew in right field. Jim Edmonds, 42 homers, center field. Will Clark, he was a lifesaver for them, taking the place of McGuire after McGuire went down, first base. Ray Langford finished strongly in left field. Then finally you get a right-handed hitter, Edgar Renteria at short, then Carlos Hernandez the catcher, Placido Polanco at third in place of Tatis, and the pitcher Rick Ankiel batting ninth, and he really is a ninth hitter in that lineup, a .250 average and 2 home runs, fourth among all National League pitchers. And Keel drove in 9 runs and had a double and a triple as well.
What a contrast in starting pitchers here today. Greg Maddux makes his 27th postseason start compared to Ankiel making his first. Another outstanding season, 19-9 with a very good ERA at 3.00. A workhorse always, 249 in the third innings, and he does not walk himself into tough situations.
Fernando Vina showing bunt, taking a fastball for a strike. And that is certainly no surprise for Greg Maddux to throw his first pitch in for a strike. Maddux, who is forever 0-1, 0-2 on hitters. And that one is too low. Maddux had an amazing game in his second to the last start, where he had 7 innings pitched, 13 strikeouts in 7 innings, and only threw 81 pitches in that game.
It's hard to believe you can get that many strikeouts with that few pitches. Look at Chipper Jones at third, well in on the grass, trying to take the bunt away from Vina.
Down the first baseline, it hits the bag. Ricochets to the right. Maddux picks it up. No play.
Now Vina starts things off the way the Cardinals wanted to. They wanted to get on base early against Maddux. They want to kind of get into his head and serve as a distraction. This is really a break for the Braves in my mind because it hits the bag. It could have gone down the right field line and led to extra bases. Galarraga dives for it. It hits the bag, stays right near first base. Maddux is over. But by the time he gets to it, Vina has already hustled across the bag.
Carl led off the Braves first with a base hit. Now the Cardinals leadoff man has reached, and here is J.D. Drew. He drops a bunt third base side, but fouled.
Well, the Cardinals believe they've got to score early on Maddux to try to get to him before he really gets command of that strike zone. J.D. Drew had a great year with 18 home runs. Being a left-handed hitter now, he can take advantage of the big hole on the right side of the infield. Furcal is shading up the middle a little bit with Vina at first base. Galarraga's got to hang at the bag, so there's a big hole to shoot at on the first base side.
Vina only stole 10 bases. He was on the disabled list from mid-June until early July with an injury to his right hamstring. And later in September he missed a couple of weeks with an injury in his left rib cage. So he has not done a whole lot of running. Drew swings and loops one into right field. That's going to be a base hit. Vina around second, heading for third. He's in there. And the Cardinals are set up right away against Maddux. And their home run leader, Edmonds, coming up.
Well, this is the value of being here in this ballpark. The Cardinals felt it was very important for them to win the home field advantage and take on the Braves in games 1 and 2 right here. Even though you've got to deal with Maddux and Gladden probably in 4 games, you've got the crowd behind you. It's a looping line drive into right field. Vina never hesitates going around second. So all of a sudden, quickly in the first inning, first and third, nobody out.
And Jim Edmonds, and Drew is a base-stealing threat at first. Ironically, at this point, more of a base-stealing threat than the leadoff man, Vina. Drew had 17 steals in the regular season. Here's Edmonds, his biggest year. 42 homers, 108 batted in, and he is facing Maddox for the first time right now. Up and in, 1 ball, no strikes. Edmonds, a long-time American leaguer with the Anaheim Angels, grew up near Anaheim Stadium, and now he is seeing Maddox and going up against Maddox for the first time. Maddox did not face the Braves, or rather the Cardinals, in the regular season. High in the air, left center, plenty deep enough to get Vina home, and Andrew Jones doesn't catch it. Vina scores, and Drew just now finds out and belatedly makes it into second base. For some reason, Drew was not aware that Jones did not catch the ball.
Well, what happened, John, he saw it drifting so far toward the warning track, he began to go back and tag up. Edmonds did exactly what he wanted to do, going the opposite field. Andrew Jones, maybe the best center fielder in the game, misses the ball. The sun may have been a problem here. First and third, it's a good at bat. He goes opposite field, at least deep enough for the sac fly. But Jones continued to drift on the ball. Sanders was well over toward the left field line. He too had a long run to get to this ball, but it certainly should have been caught. You see, Drew thought the ball was going to be caught, went all the way back to third to tag up, and he can only advance to second. But the pressure's still on Maddox.
And really a mistake by Drew, because Jones never squared up under that ball.
Exactly.
Here's Will Clark, and he takes a strike. Will Clark, his first 3 home games as a Cardinal after being acquired from the Orioles were in this ballpark against Atlanta. And in his first at-bat as a Cardinal in this ballpark, he homered against Atlanta. In fact, he homered 5 times against Atlanta in the 7 games the Cardinals played against the Braves. Base hit. That will get Drew home. Over to third base is Edmonds. The Cardinals have 2 on the board with nobody out.
Will Clark has done damage against Greg Maddox in the postseason before, back in '89. Hit a grand slam off of him, and once again, the Braves can't figure out how to get Will Clark out. This ball is up out over the plate. He takes it right over the second baseman's head. When he first joined this Cardinal team, he played against the Braves and hit 4 home runs in the 2 series. If you could handpick a replacement for Mark McGwire, no one fits the bill better than Will Clark.
So Rick Ankiel already staked to a 2-run lead. And the Cardinals will not be satisfied with only 2. They've got first and third, nobody out. Ray Lankford the hitter. That was a called strike. Well, the last time the Braves faced a rookie pitcher in the postseason was 1997, and his name was Livan Hernandez. And it did not work out well for the Braves in that league championship series. Strike now, the count to Lankford. In fact, not only did Livan win the MVP of that league championship series, but Maddox had an infamous game in Braves annals where he gave up 5 runs in the first inning, all unearned. The Braves disintegrated defensively. Slow chop. Chipper Jones can't handle it. And history is repeating itself, it seems. The Braves are disintegrating defensively. Scoring on the play is Edmonds. Clark is second. 3 runs are in. Still nobody out.
Chipper Jones had the air on Sunday that led to the Todd Helton home run. Leo Mazzoni, the pitching coach, out quickly to talk to Maddox, and this is exactly what the Cardinals wanted to do against Greg Maddox. Get to him early. Chipper comes over from his third base position, cuts in front of the shortstop, tries to take it on the short hop, goes off the end of his glove. That'll be an error on the third baseman. And boy, oh boy, have the Cardinals played their game plan perfectly. Vina got on that infield base hit. Tony LaRussa's theory was, let's get after Maddox early, and they have delivered some key hits and taken a 3-run lead here in the bottom of the first.
And now Edgar Renteria will come up, who was in that 1997 League Championship Series against Maddox and the Braves as a member of the Florida Marlins. Renteria, certainly everywhere you look there are reminders of that playoff series in 1997. Edgar Renteria hitting .278, 16 homers, 76 batted in. And that is a first pitch strike. It is 0-1. Well, the first batter, Pena, hit a single off the bag at first base. Then Drew looped the single in the right. Then the fly ball to left center that should have been caught and wasn't, although they scored it as a single and a run batted in. The bunt popping high in the air. Maddox throws it out at first, and Renteria moves the runners along. Clark to third, Langford to second. Carlos Hernandez will come up.
Bobby Cox's team is in a tough spot here already. They're up against Rick Ankiel, who has held his opponents throughout the course of the season to a .219 batting average. And even though the Braves did very well against left-handed pitchers, they have a tough hill to climb already.
Placido Polanco is on deck. Carlos Hernandez, who started the year with the San Diego Padres, we saw him. In fact, looks like they're gonna walk him to be able to keep the infield back in double play. There's ball one. And hope that Polanco will hit the double play ball. So they're walking Hernandez, a .256 hitter in the regular season, to go after Polanco, who hit .316 during the season. Polanco in there instead of Fernando Tatis.
Well, it's a good move here. The Maddox control is obviously something they want to give an opportunity to get it on the play. There's Tatis on the bench, and Tony LaRussa opted for Polanco just for situations like this, because Polanco is a very good contact hitter, a guy that can put the ball in play. In this situation, you want him to get a ball up in the zone that he can drive at least to the outfield, and he is 3 for 10 against Maddox in his career. So the reason that they went with Polanco is because he can put the ball in play, and he doesn't strike out very often. Obviously now you want a fly ball to the outfield at least.
Braves playing the infield looking for the double play. Popped up foul and back out of play. And it is 0-1 to Polanco. There's Will Clark at third base. Ray Langford, who reached on the big error by Chipper Jones, at second. And now Carlos Hernandez at first base after the walk. Just a bit low on the outside. And that was the kind of a pitch that he swung at it. The most likely result would have been a ground ball.
Right. Got to show patience in this bat. Make sure that you force Maddox to get the ball up at least above the knees.
1 ball, 1 strike to Polanco. The crowd very nervous right now because they know that the Cardinals have a chance to go for the jugular here in Game 1 right now. They need another hit or two. Through the middle, base hit. Clark scores. Here's Langford. Jones throw and hits the mound and hops in the air. To second safely. Polanco into center. And heading home is Hernandez. All 3 of them have scored. Polanco to third. And they are going nuts in St. Louis. It's a 6-run inning.
Everything Tony LaRussa hoped would happen against Bobby Cox's Braves has happened. They have gotten to Maddox early. They have kept him from getting into a rhythm, getting command, and they put Polanco up there because he makes good contact. That ball was up, out over the plate. Maddox almost caught the line drive, and Tatis, although he was disappointed he didn't get a start, is standing at the top deck applauding that base hit.
Now here's Rick Ankiel. He fouls one off his foot. The Braves bring the infield in. So it's all going wrong. It seems to be the wrong pitch, the wrong fielding play, and the wrong managerial strategy. Bobby Cox having them walk Hernandez, the 256 hitter to get to the 316 hitter, Polanco. And Polanco delivers. And he was a Tony LaRussa decision, bringing him in instead of Tatis. And Ankiel with a big cut. Ankiel was such a fine hitter. 2 homers, a double, a triple, 9 runs batted in. But he was used as a pinch hitter by Tony LaRussa 3 different times this year. 6 runs in. This is the 9th hitter of the inning. And just did get a piece of that one. The count on 1-2 remaining with Vina, the leadoff man, on deck. Going back to that play, the single by Polanco. Paul Bacco then compounding the play, trying to throw out Polanco at second base, making a point throw. I don't think he had much of a shot at getting him anyway.
No, he didn't. It was a desperation throw at best.
That's down and in. And then bad luck for the Braves. The throw by Andrew Jones has got a real strong arm. Hit the mound. I mean, he had a legitimate shot at perhaps making a play at the plate that was eliminated when the throw bounced off the mound and hit high in the air. Popped up, back and short. Walt Weiss. And that is the second out of the inning.
Ankiel's a very good hitter. He hit 250 for the season, but he gets jammed on that pitch and knocks it up to Walt Weiss at shortstop.
So now here's Vina, who hit the ground ball off the bag at first base to get all of this started. The Cardinals, before the game, when they had the traditional introduction of the lineups with all the players going out to the foul lines, introduced Stan Musial, and they also had Lou Brock and Bob Gibson in uniform on the lines. Right to Galarraga. And the easy play to end one of the most difficult innings that anybody has ever seen for Greg Maddux. 6 runs on the board for the Cardinals after 1. Cardinals 6, Atlanta nothing after 1 inning of game 1. Still to come later today in this first day of divisional play at 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 Central on ESPN. The Mariners against the White Sox at Comiskey Park. And then the first American League Division Series game tonight on NBC at 8 o'clock Eastern. The Yankees against the Athletics. And it all gets put into focus at 11 o'clock after the Yankees-A's game on SportsCenter. All the scores, highlights, and analysis from today's action at 11 Eastern on SportsCenter tonight. Reggie Sanders fouling one away. And the only thing the Braves have going for them right now is that at least down by 6, they have the whole afternoon to try and catch up. They don't have to do it all at once. But what a shock. They took a huge shock to their system when John Rocker gave it up on Sunday when it looked like they had all but wrapped up home field advantage. And the privilege of playing this game in Atlanta today.
Yeah.
They gave it up. There was an error by Chipper Jones that kept the inning alive. And then on an 0-2 pitch, Todd Helton hit a long 3-run homer. And the Rockies ended up scoring 7 runs in the 9th and won the game 10-5. And the Cardinals won their game here. And thus they got the home field advantage. And the Braves, who usually are pretty self-confident, no matter what happens, they were not too talkative after that game. Reggie Sanders quickly disposed of by Rick Ankiel. That's his second strikeout.
And Ankiel's got that great fastball upstairs, and the Braves knew that if they were forced to chase that high fastball, they were going to be in trouble. And the high fastball once again has led to the strikeout. And the second strikeout for Ankiel. But John, your point about the Braves losing the home field actually had a bigger impact than even the Braves may have expected.
Now here is Walt Weiss, the veteran shortstop. Last year in the division series, the lingering image of Weiss' contribution was the spectacular stop that he made on a would-be game-winning hit in that extra inning game 3 on a ball that was headed toward the middle with the bases loaded, and that saved that game for Atlanta, which they then proceeded to win later on. 1 ball, 1 strike to Weiss. Paul Bacco due up next. Weiss lifts one out to right center. Deep. Going back. Edmonds still going back. It's over his head and bounces over the wall for an automatic double.
Weiss had 6 doubles in the regular season, and he gets it started. Jim Edmonds couldn't track it down, and the ball is jumping here today. Edmonds had a bead on it, but it went on the warning track and took one bounce into the dugout.
Well, I know before the game, as we take a look at Weiss hitting that ball again,
that ball was still up about belt high out over the plate, and Edmonds had a good run and good chase, but the ball bounces right out of play, a ground rule double.
Now Bacco was the starting catcher, but I know when you talked to Bobby Cox before the game, he sort of downplayed the notion that it was a given that Bacco would be in there very long.
Yeah, and especially now that Maddox has really had a tough inning anyway, he figures that he'll go for the offense and get Javi Lopez into this game right off the bat. So Lopez is going to get a chance to do some damage here, take advantage of those 24 home runs. And there's Bacco, who had a very short, disappointing start here in game one.
Bacco charged with an error, allowing the 6th Cardinal run to score. Man, that was just, you know, that inning was kind of a reminder of the way the Cardinals used to play ball back in the 80s when they had the artificial turf here. Cardinals had almost no power whatsoever, but they had great speed, and they were always hitting balls in the gaps and chopping ground balls and just running circles around the opposition. And once they got turned on in those days with all of that speed, it was hard to turn them off. And Greg Maddox and the Braves just could not shut them off in the first inning here today. Alvaro Martin is here with us. Alvaro.
Well, John, they were not going to use Javi Lopez had the last batter been an out because Walt Weiss got on base. Then Javi Lopez got called out to bat. Javi Lopez, between half innings, was inside the dugout taking some swings, preparing for the eventuality, but they waited until that ball dropped to make that call. Then Bobby Cox made the call to have Javi bat for Bacco.
All right. So here is Javi Lopez, and he is one of the Braves' big sluggers. Lopez, 287 average. He's got 24 homers and 89 runs batted in. So he's one of the top hitting catchers in the National League this side of Mike Piazza. It's just a little bit low for Ankiel. 2-1 the count. How about the first inning that the rally really gets accelerated when Andrew Jones can't catch a fly ball? You know, and I talked to Andrew before the game. I said, what do you think? What about this time of day? That is caught at short. Renteria from a sitting position doubles up. Weiss at second. Wow. Just when we thought it couldn't get any worse for the Braves, it gets worse. The Cardinals apparently intent on smothering the Braves. 6-0 St. Louis. Cardinals 6, Braves nothing as we go to the last half of the second inning. Alvaro Martin, our colleague, standing by down by the Braves dugout. Alvaro.
Well, John, yesterday after practice, the Cards had a team meeting where the veterans spoke. McGuire, Eric Davis, Edgar Renteria, and Will Clark. One of their conclusions is that Atlanta is a surprisingly weak defensive team. They're the 5th worst in fielding percentage in the National League. And several players and one coach in the St. Louis staff told me, in the middle infielders, you can pressure them into making mistakes. The corner infielders don't have that much range. We can't really put them in very tough positions, and we have to take the game to them. That's exactly what they did in the first inning.
All right, and so far, just according to plan, and then some. It's almost as if the Cardinals made some plans, and then they also said some prayers, and everything has been answered. J.D. Drew, 1 pitch and out. Drew, who blooped the single to right, the second hitter of that first inning, so he's gone, 1 down.
I think the move by LaRussa to start Ankiel, Lopez didn't get to start. They kind of neutralized his situation. Bobby Cox counteracted that by pinch hitting Lopez early in the game. But I think psychologically, when the team saw LaRussa making the move to put Ankiel in there, they felt like, hey, maybe, you know what, they're going to match up play by play, and all of a sudden they have neutralized that Braves advantage.
Some of that Braves mystique even. Greg Maddox, the Braves in October, the invincibility.
They are 8-0 in division games on the road.
Jim Edmonds takes inside. Edmonds only had 5 hits and 28 at-bats in the regular season against Atlanta. That is a base hit. Edmonds is 2 for 2 against them in the postseason. Although really, I think that the first time he was up, it should have been called an error. Andrew Jones should have caught that ball. Well, let's go back to that first inning. Everything went right. A ground ball to first, hits the bag. Vina aboard. Then Andrew Jones right there. He doesn't catch it. Then the slow chop. Chipper Jones, and he boots it. Then the throw home. Chance for a play. Hits the mound. Hops in the air. Then the throw to second. A wild one off the glove of Furcal. Another run scored on that play. I mean, the Braves, it's as bad an inning as the Braves will ever play.
Well, the Cardinals felt that they could force things on defense, and they certainly took advantage in that first inning.
Will Clark with the foul ball, but Andres Galarraga runs out of room. Clark, single home run his first time. He was 13 for 29 against the Braves during the regular season and had 5 home runs in 7 games against them with 8 RBIs, and he scored 10 runs. And that was right after the acquisition. So Will Clark was an immediate hit here. In fact, it was one of the great moments of the Cardinals season. His first home game, after he'd already homered the night before on the road, he was introduced for his first at bat, and the place gave him a huge ovation. He had to step out of the box and doff his cap and whatnot. Finally, he stepped in, and then he homered. 0-1 the count. Center field, but hanging and right to Andrew Jones.
Well, these Cardinal fans know what a great ball player Will Clark was when he was with the Giants, and off jockey he recognized the value of having a left-handed batter, an experienced player like Will Clark to add to this ball club when they lost McGuire. And it was interesting because at that time, Sid Thrift in Baltimore had not had any inquiries whatsoever about Clark's availability. Then the Cardinals knocked on his door and they made the deal.
Quite likely had McGuire not gotten hurt, Clark would have just ended his season in Baltimore 2 days ago. Now the Atlanta bullpen is busy. It's Big Mac now a pinch hitter. An incredible pinch hitter, but a pinch hitter nonetheless. There's Andy Ashby up in the bullpen. Greg Maddux is scheduled to lead off in the 3rd inning. St. Louis already leading 6-0. Ray Langford, the hitter, with Edmonds running, and they don't even make a throw. Edmonds just had an incredible job.
Maddux in the regular season allowed 32 of 39 base runners to steal. He's never been overly concerned about it because he can pitch his way out of jams, and now Lopez and Maddux will talk about the sign. Look at it jump. Edmonds was running before Maddux ever lifted his leg. He got a great jump, read it very well. Lopez can't even make a throw.
Langford, who was safe on the Chipper Jones error, his first time. Now with a chance to pick up an RBI with a base hit to the outfield. So with Ashby warming up out there, it makes you wonder if Bobby Cox might just go get Maddux, in which case he could easily bring it back in Game 3 on Saturday in Atlanta.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what he's thinking about. That spot is coming up to start the inning, and he'll go ahead and make the change, send up the pinch hitter, and have Maddux to go in Game 3.
Well, now after the steal, they're going to go ahead and walk Langford intentionally, which would bring up Edgar Renteria. Here comes ball forward. So that puts 2 men on, with 2 men out. Neil Mazzoni, the pitching coach for the Braves, he hasn't seen this very often, I'm sure. In fact, Maddux, this is one of the roughest outings that he's had. We talked about that 5-run inning where all the runs were unearned against the Marlins in '97. Although he settled in, if memory serves, after that in that game. But really the roughest he's ever been treated in the postseason would have been 1989 by the Giants at Wrigley Field, when a guy named Will Clark touched him up for a couple of homers, including a grand slam. That's a fair ball. Nice pickup by Chipper, and he gets the put out with a dive to the bag to retire Edmonds, and Edmonds hops over the top of Chipper. Cardinals retired. 2 men left. 3rd inning. 6-0. Cardinals.
ESPN's presentation of the Divisional Series is brought to you by Original Coors. When you're an original, you do it your own way. Original Coors. And by Mitsubishi Motors, the 2000 Galant. Wake up and drive.
It's the Cardinals 6, the Braves nothing as we head to the third inning, and Greg Maddux is going to bat here for himself. Andy Ashby has taken a seat out in the bullpen. Maddux to be followed by leadoff man Rafael Furcal and Andrew Jones. Just looking back to the last time these teams met in the postseason, that was 1996. And of course, that was notable because of the way the Braves came back from a 3-1 deficit in a best-of-7. Not only winning the final 3 games, but just destroying the Cardinals, outscoring them 32-1 in those 3 games. But in game 2 of that series, Maddux was the pitcher, gave up 3 runs in the first 3 innings. But then in the 7th inning, he fell behind 4-3, and with the bases loaded, Gary Gaetti hit a grand slam against him, and the Cardinals went up 8-3 and won the game, and it proceeded to win 3 straight games to take a 3-1 advantage. Of course, it didn't turn out well for the Cardinals ultimately.
Yep.
And there's ball 4. Here's Rick Ankiel walking Greg Maddux. Ned Yost, the third base coach for Atlanta, is wearing a microphone for us today. And let's listen in to Ned Yost between innings.
Come on. Pack away. 2 here, 2 here, 2 there, 1 there. We've got it. That's it. It's the plan. It's the plan of attack. That's it. Dude, you can do it. You guys can do it. I've seen y'all do it too many times.
Pretty upbeat Ned Yost trying to encourage the Braves that they can come back, and that's probably why Maddux is still in the game. He appeared to have pretty good stuff in the 2nd inning, and then he can go back out and see if they can regroup a little bit. Back away against Rick Ankiel.
Ankiel, who does at times go into stretches where he can't get the ball over the plate. He walked 90 in 175 innings. Now Dave Duncan, the pitching coach, had to talk with him. Well, Duncan says that the Ankiel that they had at the start of this year and the one they had by the end of the year were almost like 2 different guys. The one was raw, with very little knowledge, and he said not only does he have great composure to go along with that great competitiveness, but he also has a great sense of what this whole thing's about. He really feels, does Duncan, that Ankiel figured a lot of it out by the end of the season about how to pitch, how to solve his own problems, and know what pitch he needs to throw, not relying on his catcher to tell him.
Yeah, and he has made some dramatic improvements in the last 60 days. He has really understood the value of changing speeds. The changeup has really helped him a lot. And you're right, the pitcher that has the edge is the pitcher who can make adjustments on the mound himself during the course of an inning. And Ankiel has developed some of that in the 2nd half of the season.
So Dave Duncan didn't feel that losing the Matheny would have been that big a deal for Ankiel, because he now has that great self-awareness. Off the fists for Kyle, fouling one over to Will Clark, who makes the catch. For Kyle now 1 for 2. This one just got it going back for the Braves immediately. I mean, Furcal led off the first with a single, and later in the inning he got thrown out trying to steal as they pitched out, and Hernandez made a poor throw, bouncing one into the dirt at second, but the Cardinals played it, got the out anyway. Second baseman Vina turning it in, and then of course then the Braves could not make a play in the last of the first inning. This has been a stark contrast between the way these 2 teams have played, almost the way they seem ready to play in this ball game.
Well, the Cardinals were somewhat concerned about Ankiel, but they said, you know what, to avoid the distractions, we'll start him in game 1.
Andrew Jones in the dirt, back to the screen, and over to second base goes Greg Maddux on the wild pitch. Andrew Jones struck out his first time. Andrew, only 23 years of age, hit .303 with 36 homers, 36 doubles, 6 triples, stole 21 bases, and made only 2 errors in the outfield all year, which makes it all the more remarkable how he did not catch that fly ball. And there's Ankiel crossing up Hernandez again.
Yeah, and he was ready to throw the ball back, but he better go talk about it because you don't want this to happen again. And they get crossed up. He's expecting a fastball. When you throw 95, this is a great shock to a catcher. You can see how he jumped up, expecting the ball to take off to the backstop, and there's the movement. And then the break of the curveball really fooled Hernandez. He did a heck of a job catching. Second time today that's happened, John.
Looking at it from mass cam there. which Carlos Hernandez was nice enough to wear for us today. There's Mike Matheny, who had been the Cardinals catcher all year long, sort of the heart and soul of the Cardinals defense especially. Another wild pitch over the head of Hernandez and back to the backstop.
Well, all of a sudden things have kind of come unraveled here for Rick Ankiel. See the wild pitch to move Maddox to second base. Crossed up his catcher and now sailed on all the way back to the backstop. You don't want to encourage the Braves at all. Give them a chance to get back in this game. You heard Ned Yost trying to prod his team into a comeback here.
A couple here, two there, two here. I know y'all can do it. I've seen y'all do it too many times. As ball forward, Andrew Jones. Well, that's 4 walks already for Ankiel. Something that could be soothing to the Braves to realize is that although Ankiel has a 6-run lead, he has allowed 6 men to reach base of the 11 that he has faced so far.
Well, and this team is the best team in the National League hitting against left-handed pitching, and this guy right here hit over 400 against left-handers this year, and he can get you back in a hurry.
Good fastball on the inside corner. On to Chipper Jones, who walked his first time. Chipper, one of the reasons he will not repeat as MVP in the National League is he hit only .261 with men in scoring position. Curveball of beauty. Strike 2. His numbers, otherwise, real solid. Straight across, a .311 average, 36 homers. Too high on the fastball. 1 ball and 2 strikes. But he had a lot more RBI chances this year because the Braves were so much stronger at the top of the order. First off with Kilvio Veras. He was injured halfway through the year. Out now. Rafael Furcal's emergence as a legitimate leadoff man. Out and in. So again, Ankiel all over the place here after getting ahead of Chipper Jones. There's Maddox, whom he walked at third base. Andrew Jones, whom he walked at first base. Wilcox on the bag with him. Cardinals with a 6-run lead, but the Braves ready to get some of those back right here in only the 3rd inning. Ankiel with 4 walks, 2 wild pitches, but Furcal being caught stealing in the first, and then the line drive double play by Javi Lopez, tuned in by Edgar Renteria, hurt the Cardinals. Wow, to the screen again. It hits off the backstop and right back to Hernandez, so Maddox didn't go anywhere. But Andrew Jones goes to second on the 3rd wild pitch of the inning.
Boy, that ball just sailed out of his hand all the way back to the screen. Nothing Hernandez could do about that. Tony LaRussa has to be very concerned at this point with his 21-year-old starter. That looked like a changeup. He had it all deep in his hand when he wound up, and the ball sails well over the glove of Hernandez. But the fortunate thing for the Cardinals is it bounces right back to home plate, and Maddox can't score.
Not 2 men in scoring position for National League MVP Chipper Jones. The fastball, and he fouls it off to the right. Still 3-2. Andres Galarraga on deck. Ankiel, who was so strong down the stretch. In his last 10 starts, when unbeaten, the Cardinals only lost 1 of those 10 starts. But all of a sudden here in the 3rd inning, he looks like a 21-year-old.
He looks rattled.
And he's thrown 50 pitches already. Curveball, strike 3 call.
That's an old Sandy Koufax kind of curveball there. It starts out about the bill of your hat in the other batter's box and breaks down and in, and Chipper Jones just couldn't pull the trigger. Watch the break on this curveball. Big break all the way from the other batter's box all the way across the plate, and Ankiel comes up with a huge strikeout.
The hammer. So just when it looked to be at its very worst for Ankiel, he makes a Cy Young Award type pitch, and then nearly throws a wild pitch, but an incredible save by Carlos Hernandez. He just seems determined to get Maddox home. Maddox walked to lead off this inning. He wild pitched him to second. He wild pitched him to third. He wild pitched Andrew Jones to second with Maddox holding at third, and now he almost throws another wild pitch.
Hernandez is set up inside, and the fastball was up and away, and I don't know how in the world he caught this thing, but you know who's going to utilize the 2 off days? Carlos Hernandez. He's going to need a rest after this one.
They need a rest after this inning. That curveball, beauty. Well, if it's the changeup that he's throwing wildly, the curveball is the picture of decorum for Rick Ankiel. And that's a foul by Galarraga. Out of play off to the right on a fastball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Now, Ankiel's in trouble in this inning. Second and third, 3 wild pitches. But the Braves have not hit a fair ball in this inning against him.
Yeah, they can't put him in play at all. Testimony to that great fastball and a wicked hook.
1-2 to Galarraga, who walked his first time. Brian Jordan would be next. Another foul. Andres just with a very protective swing there with 2 strikes. Bobby Cox.
He'd love to have a big hit right here from the big cat. A 2-out base hit will give them 2 more than likely.
Maddox at third, Andrew Jones at second. And the curveball, and he managed to lay off. Wow. The same pitch with which he put away Chipper Jones, and Galarraga, who watched that from the on-deck circle, he was able to take it.
No, it's a big breaking pitch all the way across the plate, but too low when it went over the inside corner.
Fastball. That is low and inside. 3-2. The former Cardinal, Brian Jordan, on deck. He would be next. Maddox at third. Andrew Jones at second. This will be the 27th pitch of the inning thrown by Ankiel. And another wild one. And Maddox will score. It's ball 4 to Galarraga. He finally gets Maddox home. I mean, he could have had a 5th wild pitch in this inning. As it is, he just threw his 4th. Over to third base, Andrew Jones, as Galarraga draws the walk, the 5th walk allowed by Ankiel.
This pitch is definitely the changeup, and you can see they're going to have to put that pitch in their back pocket. Ankiel is trying to throw the pitch maybe a little too hard, and it sails up and away. Now, Hernandez's position is really compounded by the fact changeup, you think in the dirt. You think you got to have to block it. Now you're leaning towards down, and the ball sails up well over your glove. You don't have a chance.
Now Brian Jordan. Line drive base hit. So Jordan has delivered for the Braves. That's the hit they really needed throughout this inning. I mean, Ankiel has given them more than any team could ever expect to be given in 1 inning, much less a full game. And Jordan delivers the run, the 2nd run.
Well, he was looking for a first pitch fastball because of the walk, and he gets it and lines it into left field. So the Cardinals have cut into this the Cardinals have given up some of this 6-run lead, and the quietness of the crowd is kind of eerie right now.
Now here is Reggie Sanders, and he was granted timeout just before Ankiel kicked the leg in the air to throw the pitch. Sanders, who got to play a lot down the stretch because of an injury to B.J. Surhoff. He pulled a muscle in his right quadricep. And Sanders, who had done nothing all through the year, ended up hitting 400 in September. The big curveball in there for a strike. 1-1. And the Cardinal bullpen gets busy. Mike James has started to warm up now. They're only in the 3rd inning. 6-2. The Cardinals lead. 2 on, 2 out. The fastball up and away.
John, this is really unsettling now for Carlos Hernandez. When Ankiel gets the sign, Hernandez sets up, and he doesn't have any idea where the ball's going. He's thrown 4 wild pitches in this inning. So he's really like he's on ice skates back there right now.
Assessment from a longtime Major League catcher, Buck Martinez. And there is the 5th wild pitch of the inning. Over to third, Galarraga. Over to second, Jordan. And now a base hit. Could make this a 4-run inning. Well, Greg Maddox led off the inning with a walk, and then a little bit later in the inning, wild pitch, and then Chipper Jones up, wild pitch. Galarraga up with runners at second and third, and a save of a would-be wild pitch. And then on a walk to Galarraga, wild pitch. And now another wild pitch. We'll go into the Wildness Hall of Fame, I think.
Well, there's got to be some sort of record, obviously, that many wild pitches in an inning. And now, after a brief meeting with his catcher, Ankiel set to go. Tony LaRussa really has to be anxious to get Ankiel into the dugout, get out of this inning.
Too low. 3-1 to Sanders. Walt Weiss on deck. Sanders again, who had a poor year overall, saved the best for last, right when B.J. Surhoff went down. And time taken. Sanders backs away. Andres Galarraga came bluffing down the line from third as if trying to distract the young left-hander. 3-1 the count to Sanders. He is the 7th batter of the inning. 2 runs in, 2 runners in scoring position. And the walk. Wow. I mean, that's the 4th walk of the inning to go with 5 wild pitches. I mean, Greg Maddux walked and scored on 3 subsequent wild pitches. That may be a first in Maddox's career.
Tony LaRussa is really pondering his next move right now. He's got James and he's ready. And looks like he's in between. Should I go get him? He's got tremendous regard for Walt Weiss. He had Weiss in Oakland, and he knows that Weiss is capable of coming up with a big hit. And they're already doubled in this series.
Got the call in the inside corner. The fastball, it's 0-1. Galarraga at third base. Jordan at second. Sanders at first. It's been a 34-pitch inning for Rick Ankiel. 6-2. The Braves still need another big hit here. And Weiss delivers it. Base hit. Galarraga in. Here comes Jordan. Langford's throw offline. 2 runs are in. It is 6-4, and the Braves may get it all back at once here.
Well, Walt Weiss has been through this before. He doesn't get much attention when you go over the scouting reports. Dave Duncan is out, and that's going to be it.
But the right-handed batting Javi Lopez and a power hitter at that coming up. And 35 pitches, tortured pitches in the inning for the 21-year-old Ankiel. And really could hardly have gone worse here in the third. 4 walks, 5 wild pitches, and 4 runs are in. The Braves are right in the ball game, and we're only in the third inning. And the Cardinals already to their bullpen. We'll be back. It is 6-4 now. The Cardinals leading the Braves. Mike James, the 33-year-old right-hander, formerly with the Angels in the American League. One time the setup man and a good one for Troy Percival out there. He had all kinds of injury problems, had elbow surgery, and was then picked up by the Cardinals after the 1999 season. Started this year in the minors, and then they brought him up, and he had a very fine year for Tony LaRussa, working in 51 games and a 3.16 ERA. He inherits 2 runners, Sanders at second, Weiss over at first. Weiss is the possible tying run of the game. Javier Lopez is the hitter. Powerful right-handed batter. And a hard sinker down and away, ball 1.
Mike James, a sinking fastball, a good breaking ball on a split finger pitch. And Lopez, who came on as a pinch hitter, lines the shortstop, turned into a double play to end the inning by the Cardinals. Cox not wasting any time to get his bat in the game once they fell behind 6-0.
Throwing the slider.
Once again,
a drop down frisbee slider. There's Wally Joyner on deck. Greg Maddux is due up next. Maddux, who already batted once in this inning, he got this rally started single-handedly by drawing a walk and then scoring on 3 subsequent wild pitches. He may not be bragging about that to his friends. 2-0 the count to Lopez. But it is Joyner on deck now. And that's a foul ball. 2-1. Well, I'm sure LaRussa is not happy about having to go deep into his bullpen this early in a short series like this. But there is has a little luxury that both LaRussa and Cox have in this series that no other manager has in any of the other division series. They got a day off tomorrow. After the first game, they get a day off. Both bullpens will come back rested by Thursday.
You can do a lot in that scenario, John, because of the off day, and you can use everybody down in that bullpen, and they will. And this is a wild game already. There's Andy Ashby, who has been up earlier in this game, and should they make a change, he'll be the guy that comes out of the pen for Bobby Cox.
Meanwhile, LaRussa needs somebody who can throw a strike. There have been 4 walks in the inning, 5 wild pitches thrown, and it's a 3-1 count to Lopez. Is it foul right into the Cardinal dugout? Look out. Into the count. So now Sanders at second. Weiss from first will be off and running. And of course, both of them run real well, especially Sanders. So just a little extra advantage coming down because the count has gone to 3-2. 6-4. The Cardinals. We're only in the 3rd inning. The Cardinals 6 in the first, but the Braves with 4 in the 3rd. Go. That is pulled foul. Couldn't play that one out for him, but he was out front.
Yeah, it's lucky how he pulled it foul because it was a breaking pitch that was right out over the plate. Lopez out in front of it a little bit. And you've got to feel that the Cardinals are a little bit nervous now, thinking, man, we put up a 6 spot against Maddox, and these guys have come right back, and they're close to tying it up.
3-2 the count. James ready. There go the runners. Lopez pops it up, shallow center. Vina, and that's the inning. But the Braves are right back in a 4-run inning with only 2 hits. 6-4, St. Louis. Cardinals 6, Braves 4. We go to the last half of the 3rd inning. And the Cardinals suddenly, after getting 6 in the first, need more. Greg Maddux still out there. The big crowd on a beautiful day in St. Louis. Temperatures will get up into the mid-80s. Here is Carlos Hernandez, the 7th place hitter. He was walked intentionally in the first inning. And there's ball 1-2 low. Man, it looked like nothing more could possibly have gone wrong for the Braves. Both bad breaks and just bad play in the first inning or two. And yet, here they are right back in the game. But Hernandez, a base hit to left. By the way, he now has 5 hits in 9 career at-bats against Greg Maddux. Which takes us back to that first inning intentional walk. That may have played in the decision as well. The batter will be Placido Polanco, and Alvaro Martinez standing by. Alvaro.
Stood in the steps and encouraged everybody in the batter's box to be very patient. He said, Ankiel's not throwing the ball anywhere near the strike zone. Wait, and good things will happen. Well, 4 runs scored later. Good things have happened for the Braves.
All right, so Alvaro right down near the Braves dugout. Polanco sprays one into right field. Another base hit for him. Tony LaRussa's regular third baseman when he was healthy most of the year, Fernando Tatis. And yet he finished the year in a slump, 3 for 36. And LaRussa. So let's go with Polanco in this game. Polanco got a bases loaded single that turned that first inning into truly a big inning. And now he singles again here. So he's 2 for 2 against Maddux. And Mike James, the pitcher, is coming up.
Polanco is a very good contact hitter, and speaking of contact, here's a guy that's only had 1 at bat all year long, Mike James. He pitched in 52 ball games, but had a single at bat. He scored a run, but that's it. Doesn't have a sacrifice, so this could be interesting as James tries to advance the runners.
James, short bunt, takes the bat back and takes a called strike. Now, what was James thinking up there? I mean, this guy has been an American league.
Yeah.
He's only had one at bat, as you mentioned. He doesn't hit.
No.
I mean, square around and bunt it. What are you doing?
Well, I think that's why Jose Oquendo, the third base coach, came down and talked to him and said, hey, didn't I just tell you to bunt? He says, yeah, but I didn't really know what you meant.
I mean, maybe he thought it was not a strike. I don't know.
He wasn't in any position whatsoever to bunt if it were a strike.
He squares around and brings the bat back. Strike 2 call. The Braves put the rotation play on that time where Chipper Jones from third and Galarraga from first both charged the plate, and the shortstop Walt Weiss races over to cover third. He had visions of a bunt into a double play that time, but James is just kidding. He's only bluffing the bunt. He squares around. He pulls the bat back. Strike 3.
That's a good example of a hitter that is in his second at bat for the year. I mean, he didn't have any idea what to do there.
Now, I think that must have been the plan.
Shouldn't draw them. Don't swing at it.
I think that, if we ask him now, he's saying, I meant to do that.
Well, I don't know. Look at this. He thought about bunting and takes it, and Maddox catches the corner, and that was a very poor
Well, I mean,
bat.
it wouldn't look like it was 3 feet outside.
Wow.
Here's Fernando Vina. That's a called strike. Well, they went from Ankiel, one of the best hitting pitchers in the game, to Mike James, who isn't. Let's put it that way. Runners still at second and first. Fernando Vina led off that 6-run first with an infield hit off the first base bat. Right to Galarraga, who was hugging the line. And he throws wildly, but White saves the play with a Galarraga stretch. He looked like Galarraga with that trademark play, saving a wide throw at first base.
I don't know how in the world Walt Weiss caught this ball. He was thinking about turning a double play and then had to stretch to the third base side of second. Galarraga normally with a very good arm and throws the ball inside. Look at the effort by Weiss, and then he has the presence to put his right foot on the bag to get the force out. This potentially is a double play to get them out of the inning, but look at the effort by Weiss, and watch his right foot. He drops it down right on the bag just ahead of the base runner to get the force.
Runners at first and third now. Here's J.D. Drew. He swung at a pitch up around his shoulders, blooping it into shallow left. There's Reggie Sanders. And just like that, the inning is over. Well, it's all going bad for the Cardinals now. They had 2 on, nobody out, and then it all fell apart. 6-4 St. Louis after 3. Game 1 of the National League Division Series, the Cardinals and Braves. 6-4 Cardinals after 3 innings. Meanwhile, National Hockey Night. It's the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars. ESPN opens its NHL season with a battle between 2 veteran Western Conference teams that know each other all too well. Dallas, led by Brett Hull. Colorado goalie Patrick Waugh begins the season just 3 wins shy of the all-time record. That's tomorrow, ESPN 8 Eastern. Greg Maddox thrown out by Placido Polanco, and there is 1 away in the 4th inning. Now, that was just 1 pitch, wasn't it?
Yep.
And there's already a decision on that batter. Wow.
A little different.
Now, in the 3rd inning, you might have thought, isn't it a little bit unusual for one pitcher to throw 5 wild pitches in 1 inning? And you would have been right. Peter Pasquarelli checked it out for us, and it turns out this today, 5 wild pitches in 1 inning by Rick Ankiel, is the first time in the history of Major League Baseball that has ever happened in a postseason game, a division series game, a regular season game, name it. The first time it has ever happened.
And there could have been 6. Hernandez made a great play on a ball up and away that he caught.
There's Rafael Furcal showing bunt. Now he's at his strong side, the left side. And he is a great bunter. I mean, this guy is a weapon. He can beat you a lot of different ways. Furcal, who at a young age became very particular at the plate as well as the season went along. Throwing a lot of walks, which is stock in trade for a good leadoff man. Furcal ended the year with 73 walks, but Down the stretch, the last 5 weeks or so of the season, he averaged 1 walk a game. Had a .471 on base average in September. Pena throws him out. 2 men gone. James gets a couple of groundouts here to start the 4th, and Andrew Jones will come up.
And James now has gotten his sinking fastball under control. Came in too, and much like Ankiel in the inning, had trouble with his control, fell behind, couldn't find the strike zone. The 2 quick outs here in the 4th.
You know, all the risks associated with pitching a rookie, even as strong a rookie as Rick Ankiel, all sort of were borne out. All of LaRussa's worst fears about it came true in that 3rd inning.
It was funny, though, because they were concerned about the 1st inning. They felt like if he was going to have trouble, it would be in the 1st, and he handled that very effectively, and then the wheels came off in the 3rd.
And he seemed to be rolling along after 2 innings. And then when it all went, it went just like that. 2-0 the count to Andrew Jones. He has struck out. He walked, one of 4 walks issued by Ankiel in the 3rd inning. And then later in the inning, he was wild pitched to 2nd and then wild pitched to 3rd. And then 3-0. Chipper Jones on deck. There was a minor league game that Jason Stark on ESPN.com recounted, where a pitcher with 2 down and nobody on struck out the batter on a wild pitch. So the batter went to first base. Wild pitch him to 2nd. Next pitch. Wild pitch him to 3rd. Next pitch. Wild pitch him home. Jason called it the grand slam of wild pitches.
That was
3-1. We came close to that here, not only in the big leagues, but in a big league playoff game, a division series game.
a couple of those pitches that went back to the backstop with a changeup, and it looked like he just really smothered his grip and never really allowed it to come out of his hand very effectively.
3-1 on the count. Andrew draws a walk. So that is the 7th walk allowed by Cardinals pitching. The first by James. It keeps the inning going for Chipper Jones now. 6-4 St. Louis. Chipper Jones represents the possible tying run, and Carlos Hernandez, the catcher, goes out to talk to James. They converse out at the mound. We'll tell you that this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. Log on to MajorLeagueBaseball.com for the most complete baseball coverage on the internet. Check it out, MajorLeagueBaseball.com. Chipper Jones has walked and struck out. So in the paper this morning, they had an ad that Major League Baseball had taken out, recounting the fact that this was the all-time record attendance year in Major League history. There goes Andrew, the pitch outside, and he is out! Carlos Hernandez has thrown out both of the would-be base stealers of the Braves, and in this instance, with their 36 home run man Chipper Jones at the plate. Good tag by Renteria. 6-4. Jim Edmonds coming up. Cardinals 6, Braves 4 as we move to the last half of the 4th inning. And the big hitters in the Cardinal batting order coming up now against Greg Maddux, Jim Edmonds, Will Clark, and Ray Langford, the 3, 4, 5 spots in the order. We're in the last of the 4th here, 6-4. We've had 10 runs and 12 hits in this game, but there's only been 1 extra base hit, and it was not involved in the scoring. Edmonds pushes it on, but foul. Edmonds, one of the big plays in the first inning, hit a fly ball to left center. It looked like a routine fly ball for either Sanders or Andrew Jones. Andrew took charge on it and never caught it. Now they scored it a single, which I don't think so. No,
but he never actually got to the ball. It kept drifting away from him, and it certainly is a ball that should have been caught.
So that was a big play. Then he singled in the second inning. He's 2 for 2. Just missing inside is Maddux. 1 ball, 1 strike. 6 runs in that first inning for the Cardinals. 4 earned runs. There were later errors by Chipper Jones, the throwing error by the catcher at that time, Paul Bacco. Javier Lopez is back now. Edmonds, who despite everything. He had 103 walks this year. 295 average to go with his 42 homers, but he struck out an incredible number of times, 167 strikeouts.
And that's one big Achilles heel in this lineup is the number of strikeouts that they have in the lineup, and that has a little bit to do with why Tatis is not in the lineup as well today.
High in the air, deep into right. Jordan at the wall. It is gone. Home run, Edmonds. Did it all year long, 42 home runs, and in his first postseason game, he is now 3 for 3, and there's his first postseason homer.
He said he understands the value of staying on that backside and utilizing his power. And he goes deep here against Maddox. First time he's ever faced Greg Maddox. He has 3 hits, including a home run.
Now Will Clark. Will Clark. Incredible series in 1989 against Greg Maddox and his Chicago Cubs at that time. Clark was the most valuable player of that league championship series in '89. Sounded like he broke his back. And he was thrown out by Furcal, and there is one away. In the game 1 of that series, he had a couple of homers against Greg Maddox, and we asked him about facing Maddox back in '89.
My first at bat off of Maddox, I had hit a fastball away for a double. Then I hit a changeup on a 3-2 count. For my next at bat was a home run, and pretty much the only pitch I hadn't seen all day was a fastball in. And I went up there, looked fastball in, and I got it.
What he doesn't tell you is that prior to that pitch, Don Zimmer had gone to the mound. They were talking about what to do on the next pitch. Will Clark read Greg Maddox's lips, and he said fastball in, and Clark said, well, why not? I might as well look for it, and he did.
Now here is Ray Langford, and the changeup from Maddox swung out and missed. And Will Clark hit one of just a couple of grand slams that have ever been hit against Maddox. Back in '89, Maddox was only 23 years old that year. Clark went on to hit .650 in the '89 League Championship Series. 2 homers, 8 RBIs. He set single-game LCS records for RBIs. He drove in 6 in that game. And 4 hits. Also had 5 consecutive hits over a 2-game stretch. And ultimately, he drove in what proved to be the winning run for the Giants in the 5th game against the Cubs that propelled the Giants into the World Series that year.
They can't figure out what to do with Will Clark at the plate. He's worn him out all season long, and he got a big hit here in the first inning.
Ray Langford's been safe on the error by Chipper Jones and has been walked intentionally. He takes a sinker. And it's amazing that pitch was clocked at 90 miles an hour. And you wouldn't think it'd be possible for the ball to sink that much.
Yeah, he had a lot of great movement on that pitch. That 2-seam fastball really does a number on left-handed hitters.
2-2 to Langford. Pops it up. Foul. Down the left field line. Reggie Sanders. No. Into the seats. It's Braves outfield with Sanders out there. And Andrew Jones and Brian Jordan. It's almost like having 3 Gold Glove quality center fielders in the outfield at the same time.
And that's what's so surprising about the fact that Andrew Jones couldn't make that play. When you have Brian Jordan in right field and then Sanders and Jones in left and center, you've got some guys that can cover a lot of ground.
Foul ball. McKay, first base coach, picks it up. Two balls, 2 strikes to Ray Langford. Edgar Renteria on deck. 1 run in on the Jim Edmonds homer. The home run, that was the Cardinals' favorite weapon of the year. They, as a team, finished 2nd in the league, only to the Houston Astros with 235 home runs. even though McGuire missed really more than half the year as a regular player. McGuire only had 236 at-bats for him this year. Jim Edmonds helped fill that void. There's strike 3, so Langford is retired. 2 down. Well, you were talking about Don Zimmer going to visit Greg Maddux back in '89, and Will Clark read their lips. Let's take a look. Maybe we can read it.
Zimmer comes out to talk to him, and he's got his back to the batter, and Maddux is standing there, and Will Clark is watching the conversation at home plate. Saw Maddux say fastball in, and when he waited for that next pitch, he was looking fastball in and hit it out of the ballpark.
Out of the Sheffield Avenue, a grand slam. 0-1 now to Edgar Renteria. He's had a sacrifice and a force out. He's 0 for 1.
So Will Clark is responsible for pitchers putting their glove over their mouth now.
Well, you know, I think that's a true story.
Yeah.
Because I never saw pitchers do that in those meetings at the mound until after that.
Right. And that's why they do it, so those hitters won't read their lips when they're talking about the next pitch that they're going to throw.
In fact, when we saw that tape, Will Clark standing next to Kevin Mitchell, I thought I was reading Clark's lips with Clark saying he's going to throw me a fastball in. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Will Clark.
Great hitters aren't an accident. They pay attention, just like great pitchers, to tendencies and trends and patterns, and Will Clark is one of the best at that, along with this guy. He's not bad at all either, looking for pitches and sitting on pitches.
Well, he's shown himself to be one of those primetime kind of guys. I mean, in his first... Well, let's go back to '89 again. We're talking about Will Clark. Can you see him? Read his lips for me.
What do you think, Ken? Yep. You're all over that, John.
It's harder to read him when it's in slow motion. That's down and away. 3-1 the count to Edgar Renteria. Will Clark, as a rookie in 1986 with the Giants, in his first major league game, the first guy he ever faced was Nolan Ryan, and he took Ryan deep in the dirt. So Maddux with an unintentional walk to Edgar Renteria. He had walked 2 intentionally earlier, and the batter will be Carlos Hernandez, who was one of those intentional passes in the first inning, and then he singled in the third. The Braves bullpen is busy right now. Mike Remlinger, the veteran left-hander, is up out there, and I'm John Miller with Buck Martinez. The first day of Division Series play. But maybe we should call Comiskey Park and tell him to hold that game a little bit.
Don't start yet. We're going to be a while, that's for sure.
That game starting at about 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 Central. And it will begin apparently right on time on ESPN2 if this game is still going. 2 down. Renteria back to the bag at first. The White Sox and the Mariners at Comiskey Park. Apparently that was a real tough ticket in Chicago. They didn't draw that well during the regular season, but the postseason has been a real hot ticket. So they get started about 4 o'clock Eastern time, 3 o'clock Central, 1 Pacific, and then tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern on NBC, the Yankees, 2-time defending world champions, in Oakland against the young, very talented Athletics. The Yankees limping into the postseason is really no Yankee team has ever limped in before, and almost no team ever, period, has limped in, losing 15 of their last 18, including 7 in a row.
Well, 3 weeks ago, the Yankees looked like they were primed and ready for the postseason. Roger Clemens was on a roll. Andy Pettitte was throwing very well. El Duque, Orlando Hernandez was pitching very well, but lately their pitching has been awful. Their starters in particular have not pitched well, and Joe Torre is very concerned that if one of those starters gets bumped early, he doesn't have anybody to bridge the gap to the good quality guys they have at the end of the game.
It seemed like the Yankees' best hope, and it's certainly not far-fetched. You see Remlinger in the bullpen. 1-1 to Hernandez with Renteria at first base. 2 down. 7-4 the score now. That's a swing. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Yanks' best hope. With Clemens and Pettitte and El Duque do what they've done most of their careers and take them late into those games.
Yeah.
They're still set up nicely with Nelson, Stanton, and Mariano Rivera at the end of games.
Yeah, they would like to be able to have those starters pitch them at least into the 7th inning. And then they've got a fighting chance.
Pitch out, and Renteria was not running. Renteria, who stole 21 bases during the season. 2-2 the count, 2 down in the 4th. Well, the other thing is that works against the Yankees there. The Athletics lineup is much like the Yankees the last 4 years. They work the count, then make you throw a lot of pitches. They get a lot of walks. Time taken, no pitch. Maddox was set for a long, long while, and finally Hernandez called timeout. And now Javier Lopez goes out to talk to Greg Maddux. He does not often get a chance to talk with Maddux.
Right.
Because when Maddux pitches, Lopez sits. He rarely catches Maddux.
Well, it's the thing that Maddux likes to work very quickly, and he doesn't like to have to shake off signs, so Bobby Cox will put Paul Bacco behind there every time that Maddux goes to the mound, and Maddux is a real stickler for having a rhythm and working quickly, and Javi Lopez just doesn't seem to be able to get into that rhythm. But Lopez, of course, works so very well with Tom Glavine, Kevin Millwood, and the rest of the starters. It's not a problem with those guys.
Maddux has thrown 71 pitches in this game already. 72, and he's going to a 3-2 count on Hernandez. Polanco has had 2 hits today, including one of the biggest hits of the day. His 2-out bases loaded single in the 1st inning. He's on deck. Galarraga plays behind Renteria at first base. And 2 down. There goes Renteria. Hit the 3rd, Chipper Jones. And the inning is over. But another run for the Cardinals on the Edmonds home run. Now the big guys coming up for Atlanta. Chipper Jones, Andres Galarraga, Brian Jordan. 3, 4, 5 spots. Cardinals lead 7-4. We're in St. Louis. 2 historic franchises, the Cardinals and the Braves. The Braves, of course, were born originally as the Boston Braves. The Cardinals were born as the St. Louis Cardinals. Charter member of the National League, 1876. Here is Chipper Jones, who's walked and struck out, facing Mike James now. Fastball a little bit low for ball 1. Andres Galarraga, the cleanup hitter on deck, and Brian Jordan. The Braves with a 4-run 3rd, mounting a comeback after falling behind 6-0 in the 1st inning. Now trails 7-4 as we start the 5th. Off the outside, 2-0.
John, you talk about the history of these 2 ball clubs, and I think the uniforms have a lot to do with that history. Over the years, you can go back to the Milwaukee Braves, and the Braves uniform has been basically the same for the Cardinals. And that's a classic uniform that you can't mistake that tomahawk emblem on the chest. And of course, the Cardinals the same. The Cardinals on the bat. I mean, you can think all the way back to the Gas House Gang, and that's basically what the uniform looked like. A few of those old Braves uniforms back at County Stadium on Thursday when they closed the historic ballpark. Very poignant ceremonies, and they brought out not only a lot of the great Brewers, but some of the great Braves like Warren Spahn, Henry Aaron, and even some of the old Packers. Yeah, Willie Davis.
Yeah. Hit hard, but right to Vina. He drops it, picks it back up, and throws it out. 1 away.
This is the last out of the last inning. Watch Chipper Jones here. He's going to make a move after he sees what the pitch is. And then he will move to his left. Watch the dramatic move before the pitch is on its way. He knows it's going to be an inside pitch. He moves over a couple of feet, and he's there perfectly for an easy ground ball. Makes the play, throws it across the diamond. So he knew that they were coming inside, and he took advantage of it.
Andres Galarraga, shallow center, but Edmonds is there. The Galarraga hitting the ball for the first time today after walking twice. 2 down. Now, when Chipper Jones moves like that, does he see the sign, or does he get clued in from somebody else?
He'll probably get it from Walt Weiss, the shortstop. He has the better angle of it, and Weiss will have probably a verbal sign with Chipper, say, hey, Chipper, just give him a heads up, and he knows when he hears that heads up, Maddux is coming inside, so he can step to the foul line and take away the potential of an extra base hit.
There's Brian Jordan. 2 down, nobody on. Jordan takes a slider for a strike. Jordan has fouled to first. But then in the 3rd inning, when the Braves really needed a big hit after a bunch of walks and wild pitches had gotten them a run, Jordan got a clutch 2-out hit to drive in the 2nd run of that inning and keep the inning going. Ultimately, they would get 2 more runs in that 4-run 3rd. Chases the slider. 0-2 the count. Well, so when the catcher's giving signs, he's not just giving them to the pitcher.
No, he's got to give them to the middle infielders, and they can take advantage of a step or two, knowing if it's going to be an off-speed pitch or a pitch inside to a right-handed hitter. They can adjust accordingly and give themselves an extra step of range.
0-2 the count. 2 down, nobody on.
You know who utilized that very effectively was in New York when Ron Guidry was throwing so well. Greg Nettles was the 3rd baseman, and every time he would throw that slider down and in, Bucky Dent, the shortstop, would holler, Greg.
So that's how Nettles robbed you of all those hits?
Exactly. I knew it was coming inside, but he was right there where I hit it.
Would have had 12 more doubles that 1 year. Into left center field. That's a base hit. Edmonds racing over to cut it off. Jordan is going to test him as Edmonds falls. He's hurt. Langford picks it up and throws it in. Jordan is into 2nd base. And Edmonds, who's been playing with an injured hip, we saw him in the very 1st inning today make a dive on a ball hit by Furcal. Was very slow in getting up. And he seemed to be in great pain right now.
He lost his footing as he tried to break his momentum and come to a stop. The grass gave way underneath. Watches how he cuts this ball off. And when he plants to turn and fire back to the infield, his footing gives way. He slips on his left foot and then lands hard on his left hip and immediately turns the ball loose, and he's in a lot of pain. He hit hard right smack on that hip, place where he has been hurting. And he's not getting up.
Brad Henderson, the assistant trainer to Barry Weinberg, is out there with him. Mike Matheny, whom they lost a freak accident in the home after he was looking at a birthday gift, a hunting knife, and he tried to put it back in its sheath, and he inadvertently ended up slicing up his hand. Had to have emergency surgery. Edmonds still down. He's going to try and get up now.
Watch how he puts his foot down, and then the footing goes underneath him, and he lands hard on his left hip. And watch how he tosses the ball away. He knows he's hurt. He turns the ball over to Langford. So you take care of this. I got to regroup a little bit. But now he's up. Cardinal fans don't need another one of the regular players to go down, that's for sure.
It was Langford in that 96 series who got hurt, I believe, against Atlanta. They lost him. They had this tendency toward, in recent years, big players being hurt in the postseason.
Vince Coleman years ago had a bout with that movable tarp. It ran over him, and they lost him from a postseason series.
I remember that. We were here 1985. Edmonds says he can continue. Or is he? Yeah. He's going to continue. But it seems like he's still in great pain out there.
And you know what? You play your entire career to get into this postseason, and it's going to take a little bit more than that to get him out of this lineup. He has never played in a postseason game until today.
Ray Langford suffered a torn rotator cuff in his left shoulder while making a diving catch against Cincinnati late in 1996. That limited him to just 6 postseason appearances and 3 NLCS starts against Atlanta. He actually drove in a game-winning RBI in the 2nd game of that series at Atlanta. It was was just before Gaetti hit a grand slam against Maddox. That almost hit right-handed batting Reggie Sanders. Jordan with a 2-out double. Jordan. So this is starting to look much like last year in the division series. Atlanta against Houston. Jordan finished up in a horrible slump, and then the Astros couldn't get him out. He's 2 for 3 today. Sanders lays off. Due up next is the switch hitting Walt Weiss, but with the right-hander in there, Keith Lockhart has come out on deck. There's Lockhart, a left-handed hitter, and a second baseman. So if he gets in the game, he could move to second, and Forcal would become the shortstop. Forcal is adept at either position. Jordan at second, 2 down. Slider for a strike. Falling behind 2-0, and then deftly dropping in that slider.
Now, Forcal can move to shortstop without missing a beat. He's got a tremendous arm and a lot of range at shortstop. And the reason that Bobby Cox would pinch hit for Weiss as a left-handed batter is Weiss hit 240 in 125 at bats, so he'll get the better bat in Lockhart.
Braves are trying to play catch-up. Check swing by Sanders, and that looked like he might have hurt his wrist. Checking the swing there. Shaking his hand a little bit.
It's tough on a hitter when you check your swing so violently, and you're right, he kind of shook his wrist out after the fact. Get the feeling back in it.
3-1 the count. Only in the 5th inning. 7-4 Cardinals. Runner at second. High in the air into left field. Langford. And James has really brought some sanity to the proceedings. He's given them only 1 hit in 2 1/3 scoreless innings in relief of Ankiel. 7-4 Cardinals.
ESPN's presentation of the divisional series is brought to you by Philips, technology that's making life a little better all the time. And by Claritin brand of loratadine tablets, official sponsor of Major League Baseball.
It is game 1 here of the National League Series between the Cardinals and Braves. The Cardinals leading 7-4 as we go now to the last half of the 5th inning. And the Braves, Bobby Cox goes to his bullpen now for the veteran left-hander, Mike Remlinger. Remlinger has done a great job, has really sort of found his niche at long last in what has been a long career as a relief pitcher in the Braves bullpen. He's had 2 outstanding seasons consecutively with the Braves.
Well, you see his number, 72 2/3 innings, just 55 hits and 72 strikeouts, and he's been able to really adapt himself to working out of the bullpen. He's got a pretty good fastball, and what they've tried to do to him recently is to move his hands farther away from his body to give his hand a better angle to get back into that release position. And you can see his 93-mile-an-hour fastball just up a little bit. He's got a little more zip on his fastball than hitters might expect. He can be sneaky at times.
Remlinger has been pitching professionally since 1987. One time he was a teammate of Will Clark, who originally came to the big leagues with the San Francisco Giants, the first-round draft choice of the Giants. Giants eventually traded him to Seattle along with Kevin Mitchell. Fastball up and away to Polanco. Polanco, he's really been the big hitter of the day for the Cardinals. I mean, that base hit with the bases loaded and 2 down, or rather with 1 down in the first inning, that made it truly a big inning. That's the hit that made it actually a 6-0 game. It was 3-0 when he got the hit. Into the hole, diving, Weiss, but as he was getting to his feet, he juggled the ball and had no play.
Well, what a day for Polanco. What an effort by Walt Weiss at shortstop. Diving in the hole, takes the big hop and gloves it, but couldn't get to his feet in time to make a throw. But Polanco has had a heck of a day here. Tony LaRussa put him in the lineup because of his bat, and he has delivered. Big high hop for Walt Weiss. When he gets to his feet, he stumbles a bit. He had no chance at all to make a throw at first base. You can see he kind of stubbed his toe as he was trying to get up and get himself into a throwing position.
So Polanco 3 for 3, and And now Sean Dunston is going to pinch hit. Cardinals have one of the deepest, most experienced benches in all of Major League Baseball. I mean, they got Sean Dunston, Eric Davis. Today, Fernando Tatis is on their bench. Craig Paquette, who had 15 home runs, he's on the bench. Mike Timlin warming up in the bullpen. And, of course, they right now have Mark McGwire on the bench.
Pretty good pinch hitter. Dunston's made a lot of pinch hit at bats this year, but he has but 3 hits in 33 at bats. 2 of those 3 hits are home runs, and he's driven home 3 as a pinch hitter.
Polanco at first. Cardinals have 10 hits in the game now. Blew it by him. 0-2 now to Dunston. By the way, when they blew that game in the 9th inning Sunday at home, you might have thought, well, how come Remlinger didn't come into that game at some point as Rocker started giving it up? Remlinger with his wife for the birth of the couple's second child, his wife Ronell. And he wasn't even at the ballpark that day. 0-1 the count. And back out of play. 0-2 the count. Sean Dunston. The next game, of course, is the American League Division Series, which will begin in Chicago. The White Sox will be hosting the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners, the wild card team, just made it on Sunday by beating the Anaheim Angels, and Alex Rodriguez, Edgar Martinez, Jay Buhner and company will get started against the big hurt Frank Thomas, the slugging Chicago White Sox. And that's the real test for the Mariners is, will they be able to somehow shut down that offensive machine? Carlos Lee, Paul Konerko, Ray Durham. I mean, they just come at you, and they're all sort of multifaceted as hitters. You work them outside, they take them the other way. You work them inside, they pull the ball. I mean, it's tough to pitch to all those guys.
That's a great lineup, and Bon Joshua, the hitting coach there in Chicago, has done a heck of a job of trying to get the hitters to understand you got to be tough outs, and they have been tough outs all year long.
2 strikes to Dunston, trying to be a tough out here against Remlinger. Up and away, throw to first by Alhavi, and diving safely back just ahead of the tag by Galarraga was Polanco.
And an aggressive throw and an aggressive tag by Galarraga. He came after the ball and really whipped around and put the tag on Polanco very quickly. And watch Polanco, an extra bounce, the secondary lead. Here's the throw, and Galarraga dives back into the baseline to put the tag on Polanco, but he sticks his hand on the bag before he was tagged.
Just checking that White Sox team we're talking about. They were the highest scoring team in the American League. 978 runs, so they averaged a little over 6 runs per game. Takes the ball.
Their big concern, of course, in the postseason is the depth of their starting staff. A big question mark. Cal Eldred and James Baldwin, 2 of their primary starters throughout most of the year, but they're coming back from injuries. They outscored their opponents by 136 runs, but still they're going to have to get some solid starting pitching.
And rarely has a team gone into the postseason with their starting rotation in as much disarray as theirs. That's the ball inside. So Dunston, after falling behind 0-2, is now 3-2. And Remlinger's not missing by much either on the outside or the inside, but he's missing. And Sean Dunston, who has only had 6 walks this year, he's had 216 at-bats and only 6 walks, which is, if anything, might be a little above average for Sean.
Not exactly what you would call a real disciplined, patient hitter. He's aggressive. He's going to go after you and swing the bat.
Remember that great extra inning game with the Braves last year and the Mets, when Dunston was with the Mets. Great at bat. He finally got a base hit. And the clutch. So he foul off to the right. Javier Lopez comes over and is in amongst the spectators.
That was a classic at bat with Dunston fouled off pitch after pitch after pitch and finally got a base hit into right field. And cherishing his opportunity to contribute to this Cardinal effort.
Dunston, who had started last year with the Cardinals before being traded to the Mets at the trading deadline of last year. That's how the Cardinals got Craig Paquette, who was an important player for the Cardinals this year, as was Dunston for that matter. Dunston hit .250, and he plays all over. He came up as a shortstop, played first base, center field, left field. Occasionally even played shortstop. 3-2 the count. Half swing, slow chop, chipper. Has no play. 2 infield hits to get the Cardinals started in the 5th inning. Fernando Vina, the leadoff man, coming up next. And also, speaking of coming up next after this ball game, we're going to take you to Chicago. There's the big hurt, Frank Thomas, top MVP candidate in the American League. 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central. The White Sox and the Mariners will get underway at Comiskey Park. And big Frank right around the batting cage. And if our game is still going, when that game is ready to get going, the first pitch of the White Sox-Mariners series will be seen on ESPN2. Freddie Garcia for Seattle. Remember, 17-game winner last year. And Jim Parquet, the former UCLA star, 13-6 for the White Sox. There'll be a lot of big stars. 2 of the top MVP candidates head-to-head there. Alex Rodriguez, Frank Thomas. Bunt by Vina, but back to the screen. 1 strike the count.
Now the big thing here is that the Cardinals are trying to take advantage of these first 2 base runners here. Vina, very good bunter that time, jabbed at the breaking ball from Remlinger and just poked it foul out of play.
Now you said that you wish that he'd pulled his bat back.
Yeah. In that first pitch, he jabbed that.
Sounded like you were trying to avoid having to say that, but he shouldn't have bunted at it at all.
Nope. He tried to just jab at the breaking ball, and he should have pulled his bat back and taken it. The breaking ball missed high that time.
Well, he did bring the bat back there, so I kind of slammed him for not bringing it back the first time, but I'm giving him full credit this time. 1 ball, 1 strike to Vina.
Don't be surprised if LaRussa might even gamble and start the runners a little bit here, trying to force the issue. It's like they're going straight bunt. Bad pitch, John.
Up out of the strike zone.
Pull the bat back, Fernando. Right, John?
Oh, don't be so hard on him. What are you always ripping these guys for? Come on.
I was a fundamental guy, you know. LaRussa with his signs to his third base coach, Jose Oquendo. And let's see, this pitch is up a little bit. Shortened up. Doesn't have a real good grip on that bat. Just jabs at that high fastball, and he tried to run before he bunted it.
1 ball, 2 strikes now. 2 on, nobody out. This could be 2. Twice to second, 1 for Kyle the first. Not in time. Vina's got too much speed there.
Walt Weiss took too much time giving the dish to Furcal. Vina hustling out of the box, and Walt was very deliberate in his feet. That should have been 2, but Vina runs well, and Walt Weiss was very deliberate. Look how much time he takes getting that ball to Furcal, who's got a cannon for an arm. Now here, take a look, full speed. Very deliberate toss. He took too much time giving it to Furcal, and enables Vina to beat it out at first.
Kind of caught it flat-footed and had that extra motion of making the exchange.
Trying to regroup and get some momentum, but he took too much time in giving the ball to Furcal.
J.D. Drew, he swings at a bad ball. 0-1 the count. So the Cardinals get a break because even though Vina runs well, that should have been a double play. Polanco now at third base. Dunston was wiped out at second. And Drew with the big hole in the right side of the infield. Galarraga on the bag with Vina. Drew is 1 for 3. And again he chases the bad ball. So twice he's gone up out of the strike zone.
Now that's a borderline pitch. It looks so hittable, but it's actually just above the area you want to swing at. In this situation with runners at the corners and one out, you want to hit a ball to the outfield, but you also have to be selective enough to get one that's down where you can drive it.
Down and away. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, I suppose that could be a product of the Braves, who have thoroughly scouted the Cardinals this last month. Maybe a tendency of Drew to chase that pitch up there.
Bobby Wine was here yesterday and went over the Cardinal team in the Braves locker room. He's the Braves advanced scout. Trying to go upstairs again. That's the book that they have given the Braves pitchers.
2-2 the count. Rick Ankiel knocked out in the 3rd inning. A 2-run single by Walt Weiss after he had walked 4 and thrown 5 wild pitches, a major league record in that inning. Still out there rooting his team on. Fastball. Strike 3 called, and that was the only strike that Drew saw to hold it back.
He swung at the bad ones and took the good one, but Remlinger made a good pitch with the fastball inside, catches the inside corner. An important strikeout in that situation. Take a look at this pitch. Drew couldn't pull the trigger, catches the inside corner.
And the applause for Jim Edmonds. Edmonds hit that single to left that drove in the first run for the Cardinals. The ball that was not caught by Andrew Jones should have been. He singled in the 2nd and stole a base, and he homered in the 4th. He is 3 for 3. 2 on, 2 out. Pops it up. Chipper Jones into foul territory. Ends the inning. So Remlinger was in all kinds of trouble at the bottom of the order, and then got out of it against the big hitters at the top. 7-4 Cardinals after 6. We've had some heroic performances already today. A 6-run first inning by the Cardinals. The unexpected starter at 3rd base, Placido Polanco, got the big hit that turned that into a huge inning. And of course, then the unexpected starter in the first game, Rick Ankiel, after 2 strong innings, disintegrated in the 3rd. Now here is Mike Timlin, and he is the 3rd Cardinal pitcher used in this game. Timlin, veteran, been around a long time. Timlin at one time with the Toronto Blue Jays, so he is no stranger to postseason play when the Jays were in the process of winning consecutive World Series. Mike Timlin was very much a part of that ball club, but
yeah, he sure was. He was a setup guy at that point in his career for Tom Henke, and in fact in '92 he was on the mound for the last out of the World Series against the Atlanta Braves. Otis Nixon was the batter, tried to bunt it. Mike Timlin came off the mound, threw it to Joe Carter, who had moved to first base, and he wrapped up that '92 World Series. Now in a different role with St. Louis, more out of a middle role, came over in a deal from the Baltimore Orioles, and he has pitched very well for Tony LaRussa in this role.
So Timlin on in relief of James. James did a great job. 2 in the 3rd innings, no runs, only 1 hit allowed. Game 2 of this series will be seen right here on ESPN, 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 Central on Thursday. They have a day off tomorrow, and a couple of 20-game winners. Tom Glavine, who's a 20-game winner for the 5th time in his career this year. Darryl Kyle, a 20-game winner for the 1st time. That's quite a matchup. 4 Eastern, 3 Central, and 1 Pacific. Right here from St. Louis. Day after tomorrow. Here's Walt Weiss to lead it off. He has hit a double to right center, and he has hit a 2-run single. That was a real big hit. A clutch 2-out hit in the 3rd inning when the Braves were trailing 6-2. That's the one that propelled them right back into the game. And Timlin misses for a ball. 1 ball, 1 this right. Now, Timlin had 2 tumultuous years in Baltimore as the closer, or actually 1 2/3 tumultuous years before he was traded here. But he did a very fine job for the Cardinals out of the role of closer. He's filled a big role as one of the setup men for Tony LaRussa. 25 games, 3.34 ERA, 29 2/3 innings. He only gave up 2 home runs.
Yeah, he's got a real good sinking fastball.
Shortstop Renteria. One gone in the 6th inning. This is the 6th inning. Now in the 6th. Here's the Panasonic in-game box score. See for the Braves. For Carl, 1 for 3. Andrew Jones has had a couple of walks. Chipper with a walk. Galarraga 2 walks. And Brian Jordan, who finished the year in a terrible slump. He's hurting big time, but he's 2 for 3, starting out much the same way that he did last year in the division series. And Walt Weiss, 2 for 3 with a couple of big RBIs. Remember now the pitcher. Greg Maddux, while he was in there, got a walk and got wild pitch to second, wild pitch to third, and wild pitched home.
Hernandez needs his other mask. He has lost a strap on the back of his mask, it appears, and getting some help from the home plate umpire, Rich Rieker, and it appears as though the snap on the back of that hockey-style mask has come undone, and he called to the bench to get his backup mask.
By the way, the umpires today are sporting their new duds. This is the new umpire's look. This is the coatless look. Barry Weinberg, the Cardinals head trainer, brings a new mask out. But Carla, he doesn't want the new mask. He wants the old one.
Yeah, they got it fixed.
Rieker fixed it, apparently. Good guy.
Yeah, umpires and catchers, they're really close, John. You know,
let me help you with that, young man.
They get along very well.
Well, if anybody would know a face mask as well as a catcher, it'd be a home plate
umpire. Yeah, they can appreciate how important that mask is.
Now, let me show you what you do with that. And of course, we wanted to keep wearing that mask because it's got mask cam in it. Swing and a miss by Javier Lopez. 0-1 the count. Yeah, Carlos, it works better for us if you just keep it on right there. Hernandez. We saw him in the postseason 1998, catching Kevin Brown at the Astrodome in Game 1 of the division series that year when Kevin Brown matched up with Randy Johnson. And he outdid the big unit in strikeouts. He had 16 strikeouts that day with Carlos Hernandez working with him behind the plate. The Kevin Brown performance is one of the great dominating postseason performances you'll ever see. 0-2 the count, and Lopez chases the high hard one, strike 3.
You can say that by the setup of the catcher, they wanted it up and in, and that's their scouting report against Javi Lopez. Run that fastball upstairs. It looks so inviting, but it's very difficult to catch up to when you throw as hard as Mike Timlin. Take a look at what Javi Lopez has to deal with facing Mike Timlin. That ball is up inside part of the plate. It looks inviting, but it's too high to catch up to, and Timlin records a strikeout.
Now here is Wally Joyner. Wally Joyner, who is part of that class of rookies of 1986 that has endured for a long while. There are more hitters from that rookie class who have hit more than 200 home runs than any other rookie class in the history of Major League Baseball. Joyner is one of them. There are 11 from that class. And Barry Larkin is soon to become the 12th amongst the 86 rookies. Barry Bonds was a rookie that year. Will Clark came along. Wally Joyner, he's been part of the deep depth for the Braves this year. Down the right field line into the corner. This one is off the base of the wall. Drew made a great try for it. Joyner into second with a stand-up double. Joyner, who hit 281 for the Braves this year.
Now Joyner was picked up when they weren't sure how much they were going to get from Andres Galarraga, and they didn't mess around. They went out and got a world-class first baseman, a great character guy, and a pretty good hitter. So when Galarraga bounced back, Joyner was able to play the part-time role. And right here, he just misses hitting this ball out of the ballpark. Himmler got the fastball up. Look at the effort by Drew, banging against the right field wall. He's got a beat on it, but runs out of room.
Wally Joyner with a double. Now Rafael Furcal, part of the rookie class of 2000, and perhaps the rookie of the year in the National League for 2000. We'll have to wait and see. He certainly made an impact. There's a bunt over the head of Timlin, and he's swinging, going out. He got called out at first by Terry Kraft, and Furcal didn't like the call.
Well, I think I agree with him, and Bobby Cox is going to come out and protest this call, but it was a good bunt and a good play by both Vigna and Clark.
7-4 Cardinals, last of the sixth. Terry Mulholland on the pitch now, the 37-year-old left-hander. His third National League Division Series. He was with the Cubs in '98 when they faced Atlanta. With Atlanta last year when they faced Houston. And Will Clark, his old Giants teammate, they both came up in 1986, part of that rookie class of 1986. Will Clark has singled home a run, lined out to center, and grounded out to second. He is 1 for 3. 7-4. The Cardinals are leading. And the Braves would have been set up nicely had Rafael Furcal been called safe at first base, with Andrew Jones, with 36 home runs during the season, coming up and 2 men on, but the call went against him. That's a pretty big call to go against him.
It's huge, and it looked as though Furcal was safe at first base, but it was a good bunt. He got it over Timlin's head. Vigna had to make a quick throw, and Furcal appeared to beat it.
Slider from Mulholland misses low. 2-1 the count. Mulholland, the third Atlanta pitcher of the day. Greg Maddux only went 4 innings. Chargers 7 runs, 5 earned, and 9 hits. Mike Remlinger, a scoreless 5th inning. He gave up a couple of hits. Now Mulholland. It's back out of play. 2-2 the count. The Cardinals' first 5 hitters in the batting order all left-handed, so the first 2 men out of Bobby Cox's bullpen left-handers. Will Clark had 42 RBIs in 51 games as a Cardinal. Left center, Reggie Sanders, and there is one away. Tried that bunt. Close play at first in the first half of the second. Let's have a look.
When he gets it past Mike Timlin, Vigna has to come from second base. Throws quickly on the run. It's bang bang at first. Furcal didn't believe he's out. Take a look at the ball. The foot appears to get on the bag before Will Clark makes the catch. And in fact, he bobbled the ball. Didn't have control of the ball, but he sold it to the umpire, and it ended the inning.
Even in the glove, it was hanging out there on the heel of the glove. He just pulled it out with the bare hand. The throw has to beat the runner to the bag. Even if they arrive simultaneously, the runner is safe. But that throw did not quite even beat into the bag. Ray Lankford hits a high fly ball to right, back in the shadows. Ryan Jordan. And Lankford is gone. He's now 0 for 3. 2 down in the 6th inning. Here's the Panasonic in-game box score for the Cardinals. A lot of action up at the top of the order. Vigna started that 6-run first with a hit. Drew had a hit in the first. Edmonds 3 hits, including a homer. Will Clark a first inning RBI. And then Placido Polanco down at the bottom of the order. He completed that 6-run first inning with a base hit, and he's had 2 hits more since that time.
Tony LaRussa agonized over that third base position, whether or not to start Tatis or Polanco, and certainly Polanco's bat very instrumental in the Cardinals leading this game 7-4.
Edgar Renteria. Officially 0 for 1. He's had a sacrifice bunt, and he's also drawn a walk. Get into a force play back in the second. He's only at that. The Atlanta bullpen is busy again. It's been busy all day long. This may have been the busiest the Atlanta bullpen has ever been. And fastball in the dirt for a ball, 3-0. I mean, when you think of Mulholland, all these many years, you always think of a guy working that inside against right-handed hitters with that cut fastball. But in Atlanta, they have sort of a different philosophy about pitching.
They sure do. They like to work the outside corner, and he's kind of made the transition to use more of the outside part of the plate. It's working. Right there you see the sitting fastball. Leo Mazzoni, the pitching coach, said, you know what, let's get command of that outside corner. Of course, Glavine and Maddox do it very well. And then they'll work inside just to keep the hitters honest, but they're going to get most of their outs away.
So Leo, it's a philosophy that's worked well for the Braves, that's for sure. But for Mulholland, it was sort of a culture shock because he'd been pitching a long time. I think he's been pitching for Pay since 1984. Ball one to, or rather strike one to Carlos Hernandez, who has been walked intentionally, singled, and grounded out. 1 for 2. He's the catcher in place of the injured Mike Matheny. It's a slider in the dirt. Nice save there by Javier Lopez. 1 ball and 1 strike. Now, one of the things about Matheny, they love the way he handled the staff. They loved his abilities as a receiver. But he was also a weapon behind the plate. He threw out more than half of all of the runners who tried to steal a base against the Cardinals this year. That's foul. He threw out 53% of those who tried to steal. No other catcher in the National League even threw out as much as 40% of those who tried to steal.
Well, he had a remarkable season, and he utilizes more accuracy and quick release. You see his numbers, 53% of the base stealers caught, and that really helps out his pitching staff.
High hanging slider, but lifted routinely out to center. Andrew Jones casually takes it. Hernandez retired. 1 man left. We're going to the 7th. Andrew Jones, then Chipper Jones and Galarraga. 7-4 Cardinals. Coming up now on ESPN 2, Game 1 of the American League Division Series. The Seattle Mariners. There's Edgar Martinez getting ready at Comiskey Park. The Mariners and the White Sox. That'll be seen live right at the very beginning on ESPN 2, 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Pacific. Then, when this game ends here in St. Louis, we will take you right to Comiskey Park at whatever place they are in that game. So you can either stay here with us and we'll take you to the end of this one, or if you just can't wait for that White Sox game, it'll be over on ESPN 2 right there at 4 o'clock Eastern.
What a great year. Edgar Martinez had 145 RBIs, led the American League, second in the majors only to Todd Helton with 147. Pretty exciting matchup in that game. Edgar Martinez, A-Rod, John Olerud, great hitters for the Mariners against Frank Thomas and the rest of those hot-hitting Chicago White Sox.
I mean, Edgar waited until he was 37 years old to have his greatest season. Here is Andrew Jones leading it off against Mike Timlin. The bullpens have calmed things down considerably. Greg Maddux in 4 innings gave up 7 runs, 5 earned. Rick Ankiel, the Cardinals starter, gave up 4 runs in 2 2/3 innings. But there has been no scoring against either bullpen since. It's a foul. James went 2 1/3 in relief of Ankiel, scorelessly. Timlin worked the scoreless 6. Remlinger, scoreless inning for Atlanta. Mulholland is scoreless 6. 7-4 now as we head into the late inning. Cardinal bullpen 3 1/3 total innings, only 1 hit allowed. And again, LaRussa has the benefit of tomorrow being a day off. And if Jerry Manuel has to get into his bullpen in the 3rd inning for Chicago today, that is going to affect him possibly tomorrow, because they go right back to play game 2 tomorrow.
Right, and he's got a deep bullpen in Chicago, but you can bet he wouldn't mind having a day off because of his starting staff and the way they have really got the scratch and claw to come up with a starter that can give them some innings.
Well, okay goes today, and then who knows? And you would think he'd like to have that bullpen fairly fresh for tomorrow's game.
Sure. Soroka's had some elbow problems, although he says he's okay. But there is some concern about his health as well.
Timlin issues a leadoff walk to Andrew Jones, the third consecutive time that Andrew has walked, the 8th walk allowed by Cardinal pitching. Major League Baseball, the Division Series, continuing tomorrow. We'll have the American League Division Series Game 2 right here on ESPN. Mariners White Sox from Comiskey, 1 Eastern, noon Central, 10 Pacific. Then Game 1, the New York Mets and the San Francisco Giants from beautiful new Pacific Ballpark, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. And then Game 2 of the Yankees Athletics, also from the Bay Area, right across the bay from Pac Ballpark at the Coliseum. The Yankees and Athletics, Game 2, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific on the Fox network. That's tomorrow on ESPN, the first 2 games, and then on Fox. And of course, a Game 2, whether it's a 1 o'clock game tomorrow, the White Sox and the Mariners, or the Fox game tomorrow night. Game 2 in a best of 5, that's a critical game. Whoever loses Game 1 is almost in a must-win situation. I mean, there's a handful of times, maybe not quite a handful of times, the team's lost its first 2 and still won a best of 5. There's Rick Reams, a rookie, up in the Cardinal bullpen now. Chipper Jones coming up, but in the best of 5, that second game is critical. And LaRussa pointed out before the game today, says, you know, the other thing is if you won Game 1, it's critical to win Game 2 because now you get a real stranglehold in the series. You don't want to let the advantage lapse.
And of course, that's why he likes the possibility of having Kyle going into Game 2, albeit heads up against Tom Glavine.
Strike the Chipper on the outside. Quickly, he's behind in the count, 0-2. Chipper has walked, struck out looking, and grounded out. Timlin, 3-1 in the regular season for the Cardinals. His one loss was August the 25th at Atlanta. Chipper Jones had a 3-run homer against him in the 7th inning of that game. Chipper with only 1 home run in his last 27 postseason games. This is the 28th. Andrew Jones at first. Down the left field line. Polanco and Renteria out of play. Renteria started to sacrifice his body there.
He hit that ball awfully hard when he went down that left field line into foul territory. Obviously very anxious to maybe take a chance of retiring Chipper Jones on a foul pop-up. Anytime you can get him out without throwing another pitch to him, you're much better off. Obviously always the threat. They hit a home run.
52,378, the official paid attendance today at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. This one started off wildly, a 6-run first for the Cardinals. Fans were ready to celebrate already. Too far in. 1-2 to Chipper.
Now this is where Mike Timlin has to make sure he challenges Chipper Jones. They got him in a hole 0-2, and Chipper Jones cannot put the Braves in a tie situation. He can only get them within a run. But you don't want to encourage this Braves offense by walking him or falling behind and not taking advantage of the 0-2 count.
Galarraga on deck. That's a base hit. And that was not where he wanted that pitch.
Now he's a sinker ball pitcher, and he got that ball high up in the zone in a 1-2 fastball. And Mike Timlin might be lucky that Jones just lined it into right field, because that's the type of ball that can end up in the seats. Watch the elevation of this fastball right up in the letters of Chipper Jones, and he hammers it. Watch the fluid level swing, great extension, and they're lucky he didn't get any lift on that pitch.
So now Galarraga comes up as the possible tying run. And here comes LaRussa. And LaRussa is going to make a double switch right here. He's out to talk to the plate umpire, Rich Rieker, and Dave Duncan is going to go to the mound.
Got Reams warming up. And Duncan is looking down the bullpen to get the okay.
Reams, who is used mostly as a starting pitcher, placed in the bullpen for the postseason. He Pitched real well down the stretch for the Cardinals. Galarraga coming up when we...
ESPN's presentation of the divisional series is brought to you by WorldCom Generation D, by Zurich Financial Services, innovative insurance, financial protection, and asset management, and by Midway Games, makers of San Francisco Rush 2049.
Cardinals 7, Braves 4. The Braves have been trying to mount a comeback ever since the first inning when they fell behind 6-0. They got 4 runs in the third. The Cardinals got 1 back on an Edmonds homer in the fourth. Now, the 4th Cardinal pitcher of the game, the rookie, Britt Reams, who made 8 appearances, 7 as a starting pitcher. Now here he is in his first postseason. Reams, 27 years of age. Andres Galarraga in his own 1. 2 men on. Andrew Jones, who walked at second base. Chipper Jones, who singled at first base. Nobody out. Galarraga has walked twice and flied out once. A double switch that brought Reams in. As you see Galarraga's day. 100 RBIs for the year. On the inside corner, strike 2 call.
Reams has a real good sinking fastball and a great changeup. He was called up at the end of August to take over for Andy Bennis, who was injured, had knee problems, and Reams was the 6th starter they used all year. They had a real good streak of using all 5 starters.
And he strikes him out with a slider. Reams made short work of Galarraga.
Reams came in and got ahead right off the bat. Going away with the breaking ball. Galarraga chases that. Inside fastball catches the corner, and the 0-2 breaking ball he chases away.
Now Britt Reams with 2 on and 1 out facing Brian Jordan. Jordan's had 2 hits today, a single and a double. That's ball 1. Reams, a 17th round draft choice of the Cardinals out of the Citadel. But he had the so-called Tommy John surgery on his right elbow and missed all of 2 seasons, 1997 and 98. He's been making a comeback from that ever since. Brought up to the big leagues and made his major league debut August the 20th of this year against the Phillies. He ended up going 2-1 with a 2.88 ERA and only gave up 30 hits in 40 2/3 innings. He hung it up there out of the strike zone. 3-0.
It wasn't close to being a strike. Brad wanted it called a strike, but they're lucky that Jordan didn't hammer that spinning hit-me slider right out over the plate.
3-0. Pena right at second base. So Reams steps off the slab. Pena broke in behind Andrew Jones at second. Was just standing right in the bag. So I guess I shouldn't throw a pitch if my second baseman's on second.
Give him a chance to get back into his defensive position.
Strike. 3-1.
The Braves actually saw Reams in a start on August 25th. He pitched 5 innings in a no decision in a loss by the Cardinals. 5 innings, 4 hits, gave up a couple of earned runs. So they had seen him before earlier this season.
Jones back to second. He had no decision, as you mentioned, in that start. And the guy who took him deep is on second base right here. And it's a walk. Wow. A 3-run lead. He opted for the slider on 3-1. And now the possible tying runs are all on base. And here comes Reggie Sanders. Bases loaded, 1 out.
At the start of this ball game, probably didn't imagine he was going to have to do so much managing. His club scored 6 runs in the bottom of the first inning, take a 6-0 lead, but then Rick Ankiel really ran into a lot of problems in the third inning. Controlled from. Jason Christensen, the left-hander, begins to throw for the Cardinals out in the right field bullpen.
Control problems, that's been the theme of the day. That's 9 walks allowed by Cardinals pitching now. And here, Reggie Sanders coming up with the bases loaded. Sanders was struck out, walked, and flying to left. The infield back double play death. High and tight from Reeves, the second rookie to pitch in this game for the Cardinals. Here's Andrew Jones at third base. Chipper Jones at second. And Brian Jordan, a possible tying run at first. Braves need a big hit here, trailing 7-4. Eases one over the outside corner. Took something off that pitch and got it over the outside for a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike.
John, that's a great word to describe that last pitch because it looks like he just coaxed it to the outside corner, almost wishing it over the strike zone. He can't pitch defensively like that to Sanders, who's been red hot last month of the season. He got fired.
What they call a batting practice fastball. 1-1 the count. Andrew Jones just came bluffing down the line from third as if to try and distract Reeves, and maybe he did. Bobby Bonilla has come out on deck. Walt Weiss due up next. But the veteran Bobby Bo is on deck. 3 men on, 1 man out. High in the air. Medium left into fairly shallow left field and tagging but just bluffing Andrew Jones. Craig Paquette, who went into left field, is part of the double switch, replacing Langford. Threw the ball in, not accurately, not strongly. But Andrews got tremendous speed. Held at third by Ned Yost.
It just wasn't deep enough to really challenge, even though you had Andrew Jones at third base. Look at Edmonds, the center fielder, really hustling over, trying to help out Paquette. Now vocally saying, tagging up, make the throw. It's right toward the mound, nowhere near toward home plate. But they had already stopped Andrew Jones at third.
Bobby Bonilla. Bonilla with the bases loaded, 2 down. Pinch hitting for Weiss. Hard ground ball right to Will Clark. Got the tough hop over to Reeves covering. And just like that, the threat is over. The Braves cannot get that big hit. They are 2 for 11 with men in scoring position. Cardinals maintain a 7-4 lead. There's Charles Johnson. He's been in the postseason before. Former Florida Marlin. Helped the Marlins win it all in '97. He is with the White Sox now. They're upcoming. That will get started. First pitch at 4:08, 3:08 Central Time over on ESPN2. Meanwhile, back here in St. Louis, the Cardinals ahead 7-4. Last of the 7th. Placido Polanco, 3 for 3, including the big bases loaded hit in the first inning. Made a 3-0 game, a 6-0 game. Mulholland throws and the ball is fouled back out of play. 1 ball and 1 strike. Keith Lockhart goes into play second base now after Bonilla hit for Weiss, and Rafael Furcal has moved from second over to shortstop. Galarraga at first, Lockhart at second, Furcal at short, and Chipper Jones still over at third. 1-1 the count. Mulholland, the third Atlanta pitcher of the game. 2-1. Again, that first inning, for those of you who weren't here to see it, I mean, it was a massacre. Vina hit a ground ball to first that hit the bag. That's how they got started. Polanco to right field. Caught by Jordan. And there is one away. I mean, there was a fly. Well, in fact, let's go back and recount it. Galarraga went for the ball and it hit the bag. Then Andrew Jones failed to make a catch. Chipper Jones failed to pick up the grounder. Then the throw home with a chance at the plate from Andrew Jones, but it hit the mound. And then Vaco, the catcher, trying to get Polanco at second. A high throw off the glove of Furcal. Another run scored, and Polanco ended up at third. That was the single by Polanco that drove in 2 and ended up with a 3rd run scoring on the wild throw by Vaco. Andrew Jones might have been able to throw out that second runner at the plate, but the throw hit the mound. So either things went bad for the Braves or the Braves played poorly. It all added up to 6 first-inning runs.
On 5 hits and a couple of errors, and Chipper Jones was charged with one of those errors at third base. And John, from the outfield, the toughest throw for an outfielder is the throw home from center, because you've got to deal with the mound, and there's always a possibility of hitting the back of that mound. And that throw was right on line to the plate, but it hit the back of the mound, kicked up, and Bachler didn't have a chance at all.
I think it was game 2 of the division series in '97 in Miami, the Giants and the Marlins. I think it was the winning run for the Marlins in the bottom of the 9th inning scoring, and a throw came in from the Giant center fielder, and it hit the mound. The shot to get the runner, and that took it away.
Well, they preach, keep the ball down, hit your cutoff man, and when you do that, you've got a chance of hitting the mound when you're throwing from center field toward home.
Here is Craig Paquette. Now, Paquette started opening day because Mark McGwire could not make it that day. He was hurt. So Paquette got the start, and he hit a 3-run homer his first time, just as though he were Big Mac. Then, on Sunday, moments after the Cardinals were notified, and the crowd here was notified that the Braves had fallen behind the Rockies. The Braves falling behind on the home run by Helton. A big roar went up here. Paquette was the hitter, and his club was leading 3-2 here. Then he stepped back in the batter's box, everybody now knowing that the Braves might lose, and Paquette promptly hit a 3-run homer into the right center field bullpen, and the lead here became 6-2. That was his final at bat of the year, a 3-run homer in his first and last at bats of this season. And those were 2 of the 15 home runs that he hit as a guy off the bench who could play all sorts of positions. Starters up in Chicago. They'll be getting started in just a few minutes over on ESPN2. Freddie Garcia for the Seattle Mariners, and Jim Parquet, the young, stylish left-hander of the White Sox.
Garcia was the most consistent pitcher for the Mariners down the stretch. He and Aaron Seeley really pitched well in the month of September, and they'll certainly look for him to get them off on the right foot against the White Sox.
Garcia missed almost half the year with injury. That's a ball down and in from Mulholland. 3-2 now the count to Craig Paquette. Paquette would play first base, third base, the outfield. There's John Rocker, the very same, who was not able to hold that lead Sunday at home that would have had this game being played in Atlanta today. Paquette fouls it off to the right, back out of play. If only. And I mean, that was a pretty big stunner, especially to this Atlanta club. I mean, this Atlanta club does not, for all these many years, they have not lost games like that had those kinds of implications. Not that way, not with 2 outs and 2 strikes in the 9th inning.
With something on the line that is going to help them in the postseason.
Another foul out of play by Paquette.
They are 15-2 in the division series. They have been a perfect 8-0 on the road. And this would be the first time they would have lost on the road in the division series. Chip Jones can appreciate the importance of home field advantage, especially to allow the Cardinals to play here in front of their hometown fans.
In the right field corner, Ryan Jordan. He's got it. And Paquette is retired on number 2. Well, let's go back to Sunday. This was the situation. It was 5-3. This ground ball by Cirillo, and Chipper couldn't handle it. A run scored, and the inning stayed on. It was 5-4. Then an 0-2 count to Todd Helton. And man, did he blast that one way up into the seats. That's the big part of that ballpark. And suddenly the Rockies were ahead 7-5. And they didn't stop there. They got 3 more runs in that inning.
Rocker has pitched very well for the last several weeks. He's had a great year overall, and it's an unfortunate situation. He got the ground ball he was looking for, but Chipper Jones couldn't make a play to end the game.
And he had a 2-strike count on Helton, which he was looking for, and then he couldn't make the big pitch. So Atlanta gave up 7 in the 9th Sunday to lose their last regular season game, forcing them to play a road game today instead of home. And in their very next next inning, they gave up 6 runs. The Cardinals a 6-run first today. Marty Arnold pointed that out. That's a couple of bad innings.
Very bad innings. And Maddox again. Tough pitcher that he is, had a tough time with this scrappy Cardinal lineup.
Fernando Vina. 2-1 the count. Fernando, the only time he's been on base today was leading off the first inning with that ground ball that hit the bag at first. As Buck Martinez pointed out at that time, maybe a bad break for the Cardinals. He might have had a double had it not hit the bag. On the other hand, who knows? I mean, the big cat made a dive for it. He might have gathered it in behind the bag for an out.
Yeah,
not hit the bag.
There were several plays in that inning that could have gone either way. Of course, Galarraga diving for the ball at first. He makes the catch, steps on the bag, 1 out. Nothing bothered him.
To the count. To the second baseman, Lockhart. And that's all for Vina. He's 1 for 5 today. So we're going to the 8th inning. Javier Lopez scheduled to lead it off. Atlanta still trailing the Cardinals 7-4. Game 1 of the division series up in Chicago. The White Sox have taken the field. A sellout crowd at Comiskey. And they're getting ready to play ball up there. Jim Parquet on the hill. Ricky Henderson getting ready to stand in. And that is going to be seen over on ESPN2. And at the conclusion of our game here in St. Louis, we will bring you the rest of that White Sox-Mariner game right here on ESPN. But it is getting started right now on ESPN2. Javier Lopez against Britt Reeves, and Edgar Renteria throws him out, and Javi is 0 for 4 since entering this game as a pinch hitter in the second inning. Let's take a look now at the Clareton game summary. 7 runs, 11 hits for St. Louis, 4 runs, 7 hits, and 2 errors, and there could well have been a third in that first inning. Maddox went only 4, 7 runs, 5 earned. The Braves only 2 for 11 with men in scoring position. They've left 9 men on. Edmonds and Polanco, big days for the Cardinals. Rick Ankiel, although stake to that big lead, just suddenly could not throw a strike in the third inning. He walked 4 and threw a major league record 5 wild pitches in the third inning, which he did not finish. They scored 4 runs to get back in the game. B.J. Surhoff cannot run. He's got a bad quadricep that has shelved him for almost a month. And he tried to accelerate as he went up the line. But BJ's in much the same situation as Mark McGwire. If he were to reach base with a pinch hit, Cox would almost surely have to pinch run for him.
Yeah, his instincts had him come out of the box in a hurry, and you can see halfway down he's grabbing that quad muscle. It's really bothering him, and he's not been able to get that thing healthy. A disappointing postseason for sure for both McGwire and Surhoff not to be 100%.
And he may well have aggravated that injury as he tried to accelerate it. The competitor in him may have gotten the better of him right there. There's McGwire. You can only use McGwire in certain situations because it's very expensive in terms of manpower. If he were to get on base, or if LaRussa were to use him in a spot where the opposition would be invited to just go ahead and walk it, then he's got to run for it.
You have to be very prudent in your decisions to use him. Make sure you don't just put him up there and waste the spot. It's going to take you 2 players at least to get Mark McGwire 1 at bat.
Pretty much the same story for Surhoff. For Call, slow chop. Vina got him. A 6-pitch inning for the rookie Brent Reeves. The Cardinal bullpen has been superb for 5 1/3 innings. No runs allowed. Drew and then Edmonds coming up.
Larry Beal in the studio. The Mariners and the White Sox just underway. In the top of the first, Alex Rodriguez comes up and delivers a base hit. This after Ricky Henderson led off the game with a single, and then Mike Cameron was hit by a Jim Parquet pitch. That's 1-0 Seattle over on ESPN2.
So a strong start there for the Seattle Mariners on the road. Here's John Rocker. You can tell by the reaction from the crowd here.
Wherever he goes, and as Reggie Jackson once said, you don't boo nobodies. John Rocker with 59 appearances for the season. He was 24 of 27 in saves. And as John mentioned earlier, he had a tough time in his last regular season game trying to close out the Colorado Rockies. Gave up a big monster home run to Todd Helton,
which was the culmination of a monster season by Helton. There's ball 1 to J.D. Drew, 1 for 4. You got 3 left-handed hitters in a row due up here. Drew, Edmonds, and Will Clark. At this point, just trying to hold the deficit. The Braves will have their biggest hitters up in the 9th inning. And already trailing by 3. 1-1 now to Drew. Drew singled in that first inning. He's 1 for 4. Cardinals closer getting ready in the bullpen for St. Louis. Taunting John Rocker. 2-1 the count. Rocker with 48 walks this year in 53 innings pitched. And he corrected a lot of his problems by the last couple of months. He did most of his best pitching of the year in August and September.
Now he had a 9-game stretch from August 16th to the 14th of September that he didn't walk a batter, covering a total of 9 1/3. Doesn't sound like much when you were battling your control. That's a pretty impressive stretch for a short reliever.
The Rocker cheer echoes through Busch Stadium, and he has walked Drew to start off the inning. And there are scouts who will tell you that they feel like Rocker, although he finished up strongly, that he has not been the same pitcher that he was at this time last year, as he gets ready to face Jim Edmonds. And Edmonds in the 4th inning against Greg Maddox launched one into the bullpen. That's the 7th Cardinal run.
Jim Edmonds, a great first postseason game in his career. Started out the game 3 for 3.
High and tight. But scouts will tell you that people who see him a lot, that not only is his stuff not the same, but they think that all of the crowd reaction and everything is part of the reason. That it does take him out of his game a little bit. And they're certainly hoping that that's going to be true here today.
So much of a closer's mindset is his intimidation factor and the macho personality that you have. You got to go on the mound. You got to think that you're the best in the world, that you're invincible, that you can beat anybody. And some of that may be missing from John Rocker. And he was the ultimate intimidator. He had all of this stick. He had all of that come at you attitude, and he has lost some of that. And of course, everywhere he goes, he has the added distractions of the fans getting on him.
Now, in the Atlanta bullpen, Kerry Lightenberg is up, a right-hander. Will Clark, a left-handed hitter, is on deck. Then the pitcher spot is due up, and Mark McGwire has grabbed a bat in the Cardinal dugout. Edmonds fouls one away into the crowd. 1 ball and 1 strike.
John, this doesn't seem like much of an appearance here, being down by 3 runs, but for Rocker to struggle like this, it could have a lasting effect for the rest of the series.
It's important in that first game, in other words, to have success right away.
Just go out there and show them that you're going to be the dominant closer that they expect you to be. But if you walk a couple of batters and give up a run or 2, that's going to do an awful lot.
Look at that! He throws it away into the seats. A pickoff throw to first. And not a real pickoff throw. He was just a show me. And he threw it 5 feet over the head of Galarraga. It skipped over the tarp and into the crowd.
Boy, that was just a lob over to first and nothing going on. Drew sees it easily, but he throws it way over Galarraga's glove. It bounces out of play. Drew would have had an opportunity to go to third had that not bounced into the seats.
And maybe a couple of feet over his head. Maybe not 5 feet. bit of hyperbole there. And the worse it goes for Rocker, the more these people, the louder they're going to get. Holding is Drew. Chipper Jones throws out Jim Edmonds. That brings up Will Clark. whole crowd is on its feet now as Clark goes to the plate because Mark McGwire has come out on deck. Talk about knowing how to make an entrance. McGwire walked out of the dugout, and suddenly the big crowd, more than 50,000, everybody stood up. Runner at second, one out. There he goes with a huge jump. Uncontested.
He never even looked around at J.D. Drew. Focused on the strike zone, struggling with his control. He's already thrown a ball away. Look at Drew at second base. Rocker's not even looking at him, and before he even makes a move to the plate, Drew had about 3 full strides.
So clearly, the crowd is having an impact on Rocker.
And this has an impact on the series.
The infield comes in now for the Braves. It's a strike with a slider. 1-1. Now he could still recover here and have a big finish without allowing a run, and maybe turn his series around.
Right. Leo Mazzoni is very concerned about this non-save appearance for John Rocker.
Check swing, the appeal, no swing. Third base umpire Brian Gorman ruling in favor of Will Clark. 2-1. Now the Braves in the ninth inning are scheduled to have Andrew Jones, Chipper Jones, Andres Galarraga, the first 3 up. Brian Jordan, Reggie Sanders also available against Dave Veers, who is getting ready in the bullpen. But they can ill afford to fall any further behind than they already are. They're already 3 down. 3-1. Mark McGwire is on deck. One more pitch out of the strike zone could be the final pitch that Rocker throws today. The right-hander Leitenberg getting ready in the bullpen. So, if Clark's going to get a pitch to hit, you would think he'd get it here with Mark McGwire awaiting his turn on deck. High and foul, back out of play, off to the left.
Pretty good fastball that Clark just got underneath and lifted it out of play.
The inning with a walk, then Rocker moved him to second with a wild pickoff throw, and then Rocker let him go to third without checking him as Drew stole a base easily. Yes, the infield had to come in because of that steal. 3-2. That is knocked down by Galarraga. Great play by Galarraga to save a run. Drew had to hold on. Now McGwire. But it's a spot where they can easily walk McGwire now. Renteria due up next, a right-handed hitter. Here comes Bobby Cox. He's going to bring in the right-hander, Leitenberg, from the bullpen. And Rocker, when he saw Cox come out kind of in a petulant fashion, fired the ball into his glove as though upset. Leitenberg coming on. We'll be right back.
Larry Beal with you. The Mariners pick up another run in the first against the White Sox. First and third for John Olerud. Ground to Ray Durham with a dive in the flip. The out at second. Olerud safe at first. Mike Cameron scores 2-0 Mariners. Now in the bottom of the first as we get a look at Big Mac.
Great play by Ray Durham. White Sox, who of course did not have a very strong year defensively. But they're down already in that ball game. Meanwhile, here's Kerry Leitenberg on. He's closer, and they're going to walk Mark McGwire intentionally with first base open.
Well, it doesn't make the fans very happy, but it makes some sense. You're going to have to bring an extra player in the pinch run. McGwire's hitting the pitcher's spot.
We've got Renteria due up next, another right-handed hitter. Of course, he's a right-handed hitter who's never hit 70 home runs in a season.
A little less power.
So John Rocker with another tumultuous inning. Actually, in this case, 2/3 of an inning. And it's going to be Darryl Kyle who's going to go run for Mark McGwire. So that's one way to sort of solve that problem. The Braves have a pitcher on their roster whose main job might be to pinch run, Scott Kamenecki.
Yeah, he has done it in the minor leagues, and Bobby Cox will use him if he needs to as a pinch runner. So Tony LaRussa doesn't waste a position player in this scenario. He just sends a starter out there, Darryl Kyle, starter of game 2, to pinch run from McGwire.
So the game 2 Cardinals starter, the 20-game winner Darryl Kyle, gets into game 1 as a pinch runner for Mark McGwire. Strike 1 to Edgar Renteria. He's had one official at bat today, grounded out. He also walked twice and had a sacrifice bunt. 2 on, 2 out. A high fly ball on the right field line, foul, and get back into the crowd. The Braves will give it their best shot in the 9th inning. Andrew Jones to lead off. Chipper Jones and the big cat, Gato Grande, Andres Galarraga, due up 3rd in the inning. Brian Jordan would be due 4th. Reggie Sanders 5th. Dave Veers is ready in the Cardinal bullpen, the Cardinal closer. Rakes it to left, but right to Reggie Sanders. 2 men left. We go to the 9th inning now. Andrew Jones, Chipper Jones, Andres Galarraga coming up. Last chance for the Braves. 7-4 St. Louis.
Larry Beal in the studio. Want to keep you posted on what's happening between the Mariners and the White Sox. Seattle got 2 runs in the first. The White Sox now batting with Jose Valentin at second. You'll see the game over on ESPN just as soon as we're done in St. Louis.
Remember, we'll be taking you to that ball game in Chicago at the conclusion of this game right here on ESPN. It is being seen right now over on ESPN2. And here's Dave Veers, veteran right-hander, 33 years of age. And Veers, who's got a great split finger pitch, Buck, and he's been the Cardinals closer this year with 29 saves. But he hadn't come under fire so much as he's had to be subjected to some criticism and all the postseason analysis from all quarters as being maybe the Cardinals' weak link in comparison to some of the other top teams closers.
Right. He doesn't have the reputation of being a big-time closer like a Mariano Rivera, but he has been very effective. Last year for the Rockies, he had 31 saves. This year, 29. He was picked up from the Rockies in the same deal that brought them Darryl Kyle. So they really answered a couple of questions. The #1 starter and the closer with 1 trade.
20-game winner and a closer. In that deal, they give up pitchers Manny Ibar, Jose Jimenez. Jimenez ended up being the closer for the Rockies, and Rick Crawshaw also in that deal. So here is Andrew Jones. Last chance for Atlanta. It's a horrible game for the Braves today. 3 errors, sloppy play. And, I mean, they just self-destructed in that first inning, the 6-run inning for the Cardinals. And then they have not been able to take advantage of opportunities. Slow chop. It's going to be a tough play for Edgar Renteria. He does not make it. And I don't know that he would have been able to throw at Andrew Jones anyway. Andrew's very fast.
Well, I think that's why he rushed it. He knew it was going to be bang, bang at first base, and he kind of got his body turned before the ball was there. The bouncing ball went off the end of his glove. It'll be scored in the air. It was going to be a tough play. Jones runs so well. And here comes Renteria from his shortstop position trying to take the glove and swipe it toward his throwing hand all in one motion. It goes off the webbing of his glove. And you can see how he was turning his body and trying to close the glove on the ball all at the same time. He is charged with an error, and the Braves start out the 9th inning with a base runner.
Here's Chipper Jones now. He's walked, struck out, grounded to second, and singled. Atlanta has had 17 men reach base in this game. 9 hits, or rather 7 hits, 9 walks. And now this error. But only 4 runs have scored. Chipper Jones takes a cold strike. Here's another look, Buck. Let's see if would he have had a chance to get Andrew Jones.
Jones runs so well, and Renteria trying to rush the play all in one motion. He would have had a chance, but it was a tough play for him up the middle.
He might have gotten it. Chipper takes the ball down, but with a fast runner, that's, I would take a page from tennis and call that a forced error.
Yeah, it was forced. The speed of the base runner forced Renteria to rush the play.
And if it had been McGuire running, he would have taken his time and made the play. Foul going back out of play. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Galarraga on deck. And the Braves have had only 2 hits in 11 at-bats today as a team with men in scoring position. They've had 2 men thrown out trying to steal. 2 others wiped out on double plays.
See at first base, they're playing behind Andrew Jones. They will allow him to run, but they choose not to run it. You play behind him to give Will Clark that added range. Andrew Jones' run doesn't mean much. You want to try to take advantage of the defense and retire Chipper Jones. We'll take the out and allow Andrew to do whatever he wants to do.
Andrew is running this time, and he's the second uncontested as Chipper Jones goes down on strikes. 1 away.
And Chipper chasing that splitter down with 2 strikes has to try to protect, and you can see the ball moving down and away from Jones. Big strikeout, first out of the inning for Veers.
And that's the strikeout pitch for Veers.
See, it looks like that may have been a sinking fastball as opposed to that great splitter.
Galarraga, 2 walks, he's flied out and struck out. Look out, he's hit.
Well, that's the last thing you want to do in this situation. By hitting Galarraga now, you bring the potential tying run to the plate.
In the person of Brian Jordan. And Jordan, the former Cardinal, showed last year that he seems to rise to the occasion in these big postseason series.
This ball takes off, sails inside. Galarraga takes it off the elbow. And now the Braves have exactly what they had hoped for. After falling behind 6-0 in the first, Brian Jordan steps to the plate with 1 out, representing the tying run.
Dave Veers in the postseason. This is his very first postseason game. Jordan lifts the foul out of play. And like you were talking about with Rocker, I mean, first time ever in a spot like this. I mean, he's got jitters, he's got adrenaline pumping. I mean, he needs some success today to settle himself down for the rest of the series.
Sure, it establishes your mindset for the entire series, maybe the entire postseason.
That is through, base hit. And here comes Andrew Jones. He will score. Galarraga stops at second. So the error, the hit batsman. The Cardinals have been giving a lot of things away as well today. It is now 7-5. 2 men on, 1 man out. And Sanders coming up.
This is a pretty good split finger pitch, but it's down right into the zone that Jordan likes, and he puts it through the hole on the left side. Polanco dives for it, but it's beyond his reach. Renteria can't keep it on the infield. And here comes Andrew Jones around third base, scoring easily. Jordan now 6 for 9 against Veers. He really has the advantage in that head-to-head matchup.
So the Braves have a run home, and Sanders, who is so hot down the stretch, hitting 400 in September. That is the first run allowed by either bullpen today. Cardinals bullpen had gone 5 2/3 scoreless innings until that hit. Slider down and away. 1 ball and no strikes.
John, Reggie Sanders has popped to left in his last 2 at-bats, but he was fractions of an inch away from hitting 2 home runs. He's had 2 real good swings in his last 2 at-bats.
Joe Oliver has knocked in a run. Meanwhile, up in Chicago, the Mariners have lengthened their lead over the White Sox. Oliver hitting a home run up there. So the count now 2-0 to Reggie Sanders. Cardinal bullpen is quiet. I mean, this is their closer. This is their final card to play. There's the possible tying run. Brian Jordan over at first base. Galarraga's over at second. Got the call on that one. Real borderline pitch.
Boy, what a good pitch. Outside corner. Cox can't believe that that was called a strike. Beers made a real good pitch down and away to Sanders. And remember, I mentioned Sanders had 2 swings in his last 2 at-bats. He just missed pitches.
Back out of play. 2-2 now to Reggie Sanders. Lockhart on deck, a left-handed hitter. 7-5, St. Louis. Jordan getting the RBI single here. He's had 2 of those today. 2 of the only 3 RBI hits the Braves have had today. Braves are 3 for 12 in these kinds of at-bats. Just missing on the outside. It was very similar to that first called strike.
He went down and away again with a fastball, and this time didn't get to call. They're trying to go away, and that's why it looks so bad to the umpire. Hernandez had set up inside, and Beers missed all the way across the plate, off the plate, outside.
All right, what do you think? Splitter, 3-2, or does he come back with another fastball?
I think he's throwing him a fastball here. Sanders not quite set yet.
Beers had just not realizing time had been granted at home plate by Rich Rieker. He started to throw the pitch before realizing that there was no reason to.
Tell you what I'd do is I'd start the runners right here. Try to get that potential tying run into scoring position.
Jordan at first is fast. Galarraga at second is not. No. They're not going, and it's strike 3. He went with the fastball and got it.
He went right back to the fastball, and this time he located it well. Reggie Sanders swings right through it. Take a look at the pitch going away. He has loved that outside corner in this at bat, and he finishes off Reggie Sanders with a well-placed fastball.
Bobby Cox and the hitting instructor on the right there, Merv Rettenman. The Braves are down to their final out. Game 1 of the National League Division Series, the Braves and Cardinals. 7-5 Cardinals. There's a splitter. Did he swing? No. Third base umpire, Brian Gorman, says no. 1 ball, no strikes to Lockhart. He entered the game defensively in the 7th inning. This is his first trip to the plate. Lockhart hit .265 in the regular season. Hard but foul into the seats down the right field line. Strike 1. Jordan is the possible tying run. A ball into the corner or a ball in the gap would most likely get him home because he has tremendous speed.
Yeah, he's a great base runner too, and with 2 outs you have the advantage of moving on the swing. You see that batter commit to a swing, you can get an extra step and get going in a hurry.
Galarraga over at second base. Dave Veers in his first postseason game trying to wrap it up. Lunged at and fouled out of play. 1-2 the count. And now the big crowd, 52,378 rising to their feet. A sea of red. One ball and 2 strikes. Here it is. It is caught by Paquette, and the Cardinals have won it.
Bobby Cox disappointed they couldn't take advantage of the many opportunities the Cardinals gave them today. Control problems. The Braves had plenty of base runners, but they couldn't come up with a big hit when they needed it.
And shades of the first game of the 1997 League Championship Series against Florida, when Greg Maddux allowed 5 unearned runs in the first 2 innings, and they lost that game, and then ultimately lost the series. Rick Ankiel knocked out in the third inning, but he stayed in the dugout. As you see, Veers reacting, and then Ankiel hopped right over the railing and was the first guy out of the dugout to join the celebration. 6 1/3 innings out of the bullpen for the Cardinals. Only the one unearned run here in the 9th inning allowed. And for the Braves, after that disaster in the 9th inning on Sunday in Atlanta, another disaster in the first inning today cost them this game.
Well, it sure did. And now Tony LaRussa's strategy of starting Ankiel gives him the advantage of having Darryl Kyle in game 2. His 20-game winner matches up against Tom Glavine.
2 20-game winners, Glavine and Kyle, on Thursday. That will be a 4 o'clock Eastern time game. So stay tuned now. The Cardinals have won this game. Meanwhile, let's take... Those really have been the